oftentimes than not, in video games, we don't really look at the law. Think about it for a second. You've got games like Grand Theft Auto that put you at odds with the police, and in San Andreas, a crooked cop is literally the primary antagonist. Last time, we looked at Red Dead Redemption, a game that dove even deeper into the corruption in law enforcement and constantly pitted us against the law from start to finish. Even racing games have run with this idea. Need for Speed Most Wanted had us living out our high-speed fantasies while dodging cops like it was nothing. And Midnight Club spent years letting us tear through cities with flashing lights in the rear view. For a long time, games glorified this idea of fighting against the police. But in the early 2000s, we started to see an open lane for something different. Police games like True Crime Streets of LA and True Crime New York City put us in the badge instead of running from it, throwing us right into the middle of being a cop. These games became cult classics and eventually paved the way for Sleeping Dogs, which, in my opinion, might be the greatest cop game of all time. But remember, I said might be, because another game eventually came along and made me rethink that title. A game set in the past, showing America wrestling with the harsh realities of industrialization and exploring how war reshaped the country, taking place in the post-World War II era. This game was stylish, ambitious, and honestly way ahead of its time. Welcome to episode 21 of the Rockstar Takeover. Today, we're burning all of our intuition points with LA Noire. To all my returning viewers, welcome back. To my new viewers, allow me to introduce myself. I'm the Retro Phantom, Digital Handshake. It's nice to meet you. Every Saturday at midnight, I like to drop video game retrospectives covering all kinds of titles here on the channel. Right now, I'm nearing the end of my Rockstar Takeover, a series that originally kicked off because of GTA 6 and its 2025 release window getting pushed back twice. By the time I got that news, I was already 9 videos deep into this takeover, but decided to see it through for everyone who was excited to see me cover their favorite Rockstar titles. So if you enjoyed this video, dropping a thumbs up helps push it deeper into the algorithm, and it really helps smaller channels like mine grow. And if you want to rock with me through the finale of the Rockstar Takeover, hitting that subscribe button will keep you up to date on all my latest uploads. Right now, we are less than 2,200 subscribers away from hitting 10,000 subscribers, and I'd love for you to be a part of that milestone with me. And of course, if you're feeling generous, you can always buy me a cup of coffee. Link is in the description. With that said, let's dive into this. Now, unlike most Rockstar games at the time, LA Noire wasn't developed by Rockstar. It was only published by them. And to understand how that happened, we need to rewind quite a bit. The story of LA Noire begins long before motion capture suits, interrogation mechanics, or 1940 Los Angeles. It starts with a London-based studio named Team Soho and one man, Brendan McNamara. Let's start with Team Soho. Team Soho was a British video game developer founded in 1994 and based in the heart of London's Soho district. What made this team so interesting is that most of its original staff had almost no professional game development experience. A lot of them were fresh out of college, young talent stepping into an industry that was still evolving. Despite that, they came out swinging. Their first major title was NBA Shootout, released in 1996. The game was a surprise hit and launched a full series under the same name. In fact, the success was so strong that in November of that same year, Next Gen magazine ran an article questioning whether Team Soho could repeat the magic or if NBA Shootout was just beginner's luck. Here's what the article said. The team has 2 new projects well into development. Porsche Challenge, a racing game based around Porsche's forthcoming Boxster sports car, and Rapid Racer, another racing game, this time set on water. The game these titles must live up to, of course, is NBA Shootout, a visual tour de force and one of the most popular basketball games ever released. Not a bad effort for a group who never worked on a project together before, and which at the time consisted mostly of recent college graduates. Rapid Racer went on to receive above average reviews, and what really stood out was how much effort went into it. The team spent 6 months, half of a year, just modeling the physics and behavior of the water. That level of dedication showed that Team Soho wasn't just throwing games out, they were learning, experimenting, and sharpening their skills with each new project. Later on, the team released Spice World, and this game marked the first time Team Soho had Psygnosis publish one of their titles. Up to this point, Team Soho worked mostly under Sony Computer Entertainment. Keep that company in mind, they're going to matter a lot more later. After Spice World, Team Soho released This Is Football, a European exclusive football title where players took control of a coach managing teams for the English Football League and the French League. This game itself landed somewhere in the average range, but it's extremely important in LA Noir's development history because it was the first project where Brendan McNamara stepped in as studio manager. From what I could find, he served the same role on This Is Football 2 as well. But McNamara wouldn't stay in that role for long. Instead, he stepped into the director's chair for the studio's next major project, The Getaway. This game released on December 11, 2002. The Getaway was an open-world, third-person action game inspired heavily by British gangster films like Get Carter and Snatch. In the game, players switch between two characters, ex-convict Mark Hammond and police officer Frank Carter, as their stories entwine across London's criminal underworld, of course. The game received average reviews overall, and at one point was even banned in Australia due to a particularly graphic torture scene. Originally, The Getaway planned to launch alongside the PlayStation 2 in 2000, but ended up delayed by more than 2 years because the team struggled with recreating large areas of London in high-resolution detail. That delay becomes important because while The Getaway finally released in 2002, the studio itself didn't survive much longer. In the same year the game launched, Team Soho was shut down and merged with Sony Computer Entertainment Studio Camden, formerly Psygnosis Camden, to form London Studio, and that moment becomes a turning point. With the studio closed and the writing on the wall, Brendan McNamara made a decision that would change his career and eventually lead to LA Noir. In mid-2003, McNamara returned to his home country of Australia and founded his own studio, Team Bondi. The studio's opening was formally announced in January 2004. McNamara brought several former Team Soho developers with him, many of whom had worked on The Getaway, and he also secured an exclusive publishing deal with Sony Computer Entertainment America to develop a game for the PlayStation 3. And that project was the earliest form of what would become LA Noir. People were left in the dark about this game, not knowing what to expect. From Eurogamer, we learned a lot. Brendan McNamara, the Australian writer-director of multi-million-selling London crime caper The Getaway, has returned home to set up a new Sydney-based development studio called Team Bondi and has started work on an all-new PlayStation 3 title. The starter team is headed up by McNamara, who has hired various members of Team Soho to work on an original title, details of which will be revealed shortly. The team is working exclusively on Sony hardware, unsurprisingly. McNamara has spent the last 6 months setting up a studio and doing technical research for the game, which already has an exclusive publishing arrangements with Sony Computer Entertainment America. It's not known what the game's European status is currently, or why McNamara chose to partner with the US first, but we'd expect an announcement in the near future. Development for LA Noir officially began in 2004, kicking off what would become a 7-year development hell for the project. On July 18, 2005, Team Bondi finally revealed the existence of their new game on their website. LA Noir, described simply as a detective thriller. For 2005, that was a huge swing. A fully realized detective game built around post-war Los Angeles, nothing like that existed at the time. But a little over a year later, things took a turn. Their publishing deal with Sony Computer Entertainment America fell apart, and Sony dropped LA Noire completely. That could have killed the project right then and there, but it didn't. Because on September 25th, 2006, Rockstar Games swooped in and picked up publishing rights for LA Noire. This move would reshape the entire trajectory of the game. With Rockstar backing them, Team Bondi pushed forward and finally released the first trailer in October 2006, just a month after the deal was announced.
We'll get a commendation if we crack this murder, Cole.
You sure the homicide squad won't step in and take the collar?
Even if they do, we play along, and who knows, we might get bumped up a desk.
That's him!
Get him!
Hey, what are you... So stop that guy. What? This guy thinks he's at the Speedways. Hey! Hey! What are you doing? Hey, what are you... What's going on? Huh?
Big LAPD, nothing to see here. Let's move along.
Keep in mind, this was 2006. The PlayStation 3 was launching that same year. Sony was publishing new hardware. The Team Bondi had already been working on this project for 2 years. Development continued, now with Rockstar's global support behind them. In an interview featuring Team Bondi founder Brendan McNamara and Rockstar's vice president at the time, Geronimo Barrera, McNamara opened up about what it was like developing the game and working under the Rockstar umbrella, explaining, "When I went to Rockstar and met with Jay and Sam and pitched the game at them, the whole idea behind we thought it would work and why it hadn't worked previously was wrapped up in those interrogation scenes that you get in TV shows or films. When the audience is able to read people's faces, they work because the audience have to be able to read their faces and see whether they believe them or sympathize because they're breaking down in that sort of stuff. So we done a lot of research and a lot of tech demos. We come to New York every few months or so, and the guys there would see us coming through the door and go, 'Oh man, not another head demo.' That happened for a while. It wasn't in context yet. We could just show these disembodied heads, which show what the tech was capable of." Team Bondi now had access to a massive pool of Rockstar resources, but LA Noire was still very different from the typical Rockstar project. Unlike most Rockstar titles at the time, which ran on the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, or Rage for short, LA Noire didn't use Rage at all. Instead, Team Bondi built the game on their own proprietary engine. To support this, Brendan McNamara helped create a sister company called Depth Analysis, and this is where things get revolutionary. Depth Analysis developed the now famous motion scan technology, a motion capture system that recorded actors at 1,000 frames per second using 32 surrounding cameras to capture facial expressions from every possible angle. This wasn't just eye candy. The interrogation system, one of LA Noir's biggest selling points, depended on this technology. Players had to read microexpressions, twitchy eyes, subtle tics, and nervous pauses to determine whether a suspect was telling the truth or lying to our faces. Because the tech captured everything, actors even needed precise hairstyling to avoid interfering with the recording process. But Rockstar wasn't entirely sold right away. Internally, there was real doubt over the feasibility of motion scan, and Team Bondi even discussed using the same animation techniques used in other Rockstar titles like Red Dead Redemption as a fallback option. But beyond the performance capture, the game relied on the Havoc physics engine to handle movement and environmental interaction. As development continued, the content piled up. The team ran into another challenge: storage. 11 full cases originally put at the bunco and burglary desks were cut because Bondi wasn't confident they would fit it all onto a single PS3 Blu-ray disc. Now, amazing as all that tech looks, this is exactly where LA Noire started running into real problems. Remember, this game was originally planned for a 2008 release, and that clearly didn't happen. What followed was one of the most longest, most chaotic development cycles Rockstar ever had to deal with, until GTA 6. And it all starts with one simple truth: Team Bondi bit off way more than they can chew. To recreate the 1940s, Team Bondi went all in. They weren't just building a game world, they were practically building a museum exhibit. The team pulled together over 180,000 reference photos, more than 1,000 historical newspapers, recreated street layouts, interiors, and traffic patterns, and even assembled over 140 production Bibles to keep everything historically accurate. It's an incredible commitment, but it absolutely slowed development to a crawl. This wasn't the kind of game you could improvise or patch later. Every detail had to match the era, and that alone could have been a full-time production. And of course, the motion scan, which is the part of development where everything exploded in scale. Motion scan pushed gaming forward, yes, but it also slowed production massively. Normal pipelines were built for footage like this, so everything took twice as long as expected. And all that tech was supporting a huge story. LA Noire featured 400 actors, more than 20 hours of dialogue, and a script that ballooned past 2,200 pages. To make things harder, motion capture and voice performances were recorded separately. That meant every case required new actors, new sets, new animations, new capture sessions. Basically, the production schedule of a TV drama shoved into a video game's timeline. And after all that work, a surprising amount didn't still survive. Team Bondi had to cut 11 cases across the bunco and burglary desk because they weren't confident a single PS3 Blu-ray could hold everything. Other mechanics were scrapped entirely, including a GTA-style police evasion system because it clashed with the pacing of a detective game. When you cut major content, you're not just deleting missions, you're rebuilding entire systems and rewriting progression. That means, more delays. And then there's the elephant in the room. Team Bondi and Rockstar's relationship was rocky. There were communication problems, disputes over creative control, and serious internal management issues. Things got so rough that Rockstar eventually stepped in to take a more active role in saving the project. When your publisher has to rescue development, you know things have slowed down dramatically. The research, the tech, the rewrites, the cut content, the tension behind the scenes, all of it stacked together, turning a planned 2008 release into a 2011 finish line. But the problems on LA Noire went way beyond tech research. Behind the scenes, Team Bondi was dealing with what many in the industry would describe as a full-on workplace nightmare. And to understand why things got so ugly, we have to remember a time period. In 2004, the infamous EA Spouse blog exposed brutal crunch culture in the industry. 80-hour weeks, unpaid overtime, burned out developers. That post led to lawsuits and real industry consequences, and LA Noire was built on that same world. Long hours, relentless pressure, and a studio pushing far past its breaking point. Former Bondi staff said the studio had no clear technical vision, no strong artistic leadership, and relied on vague tasks and weekly reviews. As the team grew from a handful of people to over 30, missed milestones and technical issues piled up. Management pressure increased. Excitement faded. What started as a dream project quickly turned into an aggressive, stressful workplace where people either quit or were pushed out. By the time some early hires walked away, the studio had over 100 employees and a reputation for being a rough place to work. A part of the problem was the studio structure. Team Bondi's leads were mostly former Team Soho developers McNamara had brought from London with promises of money and a great life in Sydney. But instead of a stable hierarchy, the studio ran on an informal chain of command where McNamara would bypass leads entirely and tell individual devs what to change. Leads understood team frustrations, but they couldn't do anything. If McNamara wanted something done, that was the end of the conversation. He even admitted he preferred it this way. It was his game. He can go to anyone he wants. For many employers, it felt like total creative control from the top with no buffer. This fueled massive staff turnover. More juniors were hired, including a graduate junior role that paid less and offered less protection. If you weren't part of McNamara's inner circle, you were treated like a resource to burn through. One programmer inherited the work of 4 different people who quit. He spent weeks just trying to figure out which way was up. When a Rockstar producer visited and saw he was effectively doing 4 jobs at once, they were stunned. Every departure meant another slowdown, another rebuild, another missed milestone. Then there were the working conditions. Former employees described a permanent crunch, not temporary sprint, but an ongoing expectation. Leaving at 7:30 p.m. got you dirty looks. Many staff said they worked 60-hour weeks on average, spiking to 80 or even 100 hours near milestones. One artist said he was written up for being 15 minutes late after leaving the studio at 3:15 the night before. Overtime wasn't straightforward either. Contracts stated it will only be paid after the project shipped, meaning anyone who had left early essentially never saw that money. McNamara insisted he worked the same hours, framing it as a cost of competing at a global level. But for many, the price was burnout. And while all this was happening, the team was learning how to develop for new hardware that didn't exist yet. When LA Noire began development, the PS3 wasn't finalized. Early assumptions were wrong, systems had to be rebuilt, tools failed, people left, progress reset. Less than 12 months ago became an internal joke. One developers heard when they arrived, and again years later when they quit. In the end, LA Noire becomes more than just a story about fancy facial tech or detective games set in the 1940s. It becomes a warning about what happens when a massive, ambitious project relies on a single visionary without sustainable leadership, scheduling, or work culture. Industry voices like Aaron Hoffman, the original EA spouse, looked at Team Bondi and called it a casualty of misplaced trust, a huge project handed to an idea-driven leader without the infrastructure to support it. For young developers, the lesson was clear. Passion isn't enough. You have to know your rights, and no project, no matter how groundbreaking, is worth sacrificing. And it must be known, when this game developed, it was not long after that Team Bondi would no longer be a studio. They too would fall after this game was completed. And yet, despite the crunch, the turnover, the stress, the 7-year-long development hell, LA Noire finally arrived in 2011. What we got was a game that looked and felt unlike anything at the time, but it came with a massive cost behind the scenes. Here's a quick spoiler alert, as I'm about to tell the story behind LA Noire. Now, if you're not a fan of spoilers, please advance this video to the gameplay overview section as seen on the timeline below. Let's dive into this. Now understand, LA Noire's story is told from 3 different perspectives: the story we play through, the newspapers, and flashbacks to World War II. For this section, we'll be looking at the story told from the playthrough side and speak on the newspaper and flashbacks in the analysis section. Also, I'm saving the DLC for another portion of the video, so we'll be focusing on the original story of LA Noire. Now, let's get started. The story opens up with Cole Phelps, fresh-faced and still proving himself, out on routine patrol with his partner Ralph Dunn. Their quiet shift breaks when dispatch calls in a shooting and requests uniformed officers for an evidence search. Dunn responds and Cole swings the patrol car toward the scene, unaware that this simple call is about to set the tone for his entire career. When they arrive, the coroner is already loading the body into a van. A man steps forward, homicide detective Floyd Rose, with none other than Rusty Galloway tailing right behind him. Rose asks if Cole and Dunn are his backup. Cole introduces them as uniforms from Wilshire Division, and Rose immediately briefs them. The victim is a black male named Scooter Payton, shot twice in the head in a nearby alley. His body is headed to the central morgue, and Rose has witnesses who claims a white male fired the shots, tossed the weapon up, and ran. Before Rose leaves, he makes it painfully clear he doesn't care whether the uniforms find anything or not. The victim, in his words, was a lowlife. Cole, however, takes the job seriously. And while Rose shrugs off evidence, it's Phelps who actually finds the murder weapon tucked on the rooftop above the alleyway. With the gun secured, Dunn suggests heading straight back to the station, turning the weapon in and calling it a night. But Cole has instincts and ambition. Instead, he asks Dunn if there are any gun stores nearby. Dunn mentions one a couple blocks away, and the two head over. At Central Guns, the store owner immediately recognized the recovered firearm, a Smith & Wesson Model 27 nickel-plated with pearl grips. He explains that these guns aren't something you just grab off the shelf. They're special order. He pulls out his ledger and Cole flips through until he matches the serial number. And he learns the gun was purchased by a man named Errol Schroeder. That's all Cole needs. They arrive at Schroeder's apartment building, check the mailboxes, and make their way upstairs. Schroeder answers the door with a cocky, irritated attitude, apparently upset that dinner was getting cold. When Cole asks about his gun, Schroeder claims he owns one but keeps it in his sock drawer for home defense. But when Phelps brings up Scooter Payton's murder, Schroeder suddenly looks confused, almost insulted. He insists the man worked for him, that he never shoots someone who owes him money. He then goes to check the drawer. The gun is gone. Cole moves in to arrest him, but Schroeder sucker punches Dunn, dropping him instantly. A brawl breaks out, but Phelps, the decorated war veteran and far more capable fighter, puts Schroeder down and cuffs him. When Schroeder's secured, Dunn stands guard while Cole snoops through the apartment. Most of the place's forgettable clutter, but inside one dresser drawer, Cole finds something that freezes the air in the room. A small green notebook. Inside is a list of names, each paired with suspicious numerical entries. And on that list, Detective Floyd Rose, the same detective who dismissed the victim earlier, the same detective who didn't care if evidence was found, the same detective they met minutes earlier at the alley. Dunn becomes instantly uneasy, and Cole realizes this case is bigger, messier, and more corrupt than a simple patrol call. After wrapping up the Schroeder case, Cole and Dunn get back to their patrol car and continue the rest of their shift. It doesn't take long before a police bulletin comes crackling through the radio. An armed robbery is in progress at Westlake Savings and Loans. Most uniforms would wait for backup, but Cole, he is in most uniforms. They respond. When they arrive, chaos is already spilling out into the street. Cole pops the trunk, grabs the department shotgun, and moves into position alongside Dunn. Ever the idealist, Cole tries to de-escalate the situation first, shouting for the robbers to drop their weapons and come out peacefully. But the moment they answer his command with gunfire, Cole is forced to return the fire. The shootout is quick, loud, and decisive. By the time the smoke clears, Dunn is visibly shaken, but Cole reassures him, calm and composed, almost unsettlingly steady for a man fresh out of the Academy's patrol division. The two go back to the road, but their shift isn't getting any quieter. While cruising through the district, Dunn suddenly spots someone he recognizes, Wendell Bowers, a known burglar who jumped parole after Dunn personally put him away. Before the car even fully stops, Cole is already out the door sprinting after Bowers as he bolts through the alleyways and backyards. What follows is a full-on chase, rooftops, fences, fire escapes, ending in a brutal takedown where Cole either arrests Bowers or is forced to put him down, depending on how the situation unfolds. Either way, Dunn is shocked by how far Cole is willing to go to finish a job. The patrol continues. While on foot, Cole hears a series of gunshots echoing across the street. Without hesitation, he runs toward the sound and arrives at Nunbush Shoes, where businessman Everett Gage lies dead on the sidewalk. A distraught saleswoman, Clovis Galetta, identifies the shooter, jeweler Edgar Kalu, who fled the scene moments earlier. Cole begins canvassing the area, locating 5 spent .32 ACP shell casings and a discarded FN Browning Model 1922, which was the murder weapon for this. Cole and Dunn head to Harfield Jewelry Store to bring Kalu in. The moment they enter, Kalu recognizes them, panics, and bolts. Another chase erupts through the alleys and busy streets, ending with Cole apprehending him, whether by tackling him, firing a warning shot, or sheer persistence as traffic forces Kalu into a dead end. Back at the station, Captain Donnelly assigns Cole something rare for a patrolman, his first interrogation. Cole sits across from Edgar Kalu, and through the combination of pressure, insight, and reading the man's guilt written across his face, Phelps cracks him. Kalu confesses, not just to the act, but to the motive, resentment boiling over to murder. Solving the case, stopping a robbery, catching a fugitive, and delivering a confession, all in a single patrol cycle. It's enough to get the brass talking. Cole Phelps, the golden boy, the war hero, the man who doesn't look away, receives his first promotion.
Masterfully done, Officer Phelps. It is just Officer Phelps, isn't it, lad?
Yes, sir.
Then let me have a word with the Chief of Police, young Phelps. The department needs heroes. A shining, honest face the public can admire. I applaud a man with your talent for unwavering justice. Back to your duties for now, boyo. But here's a piece of advice. Get yourself 2 suits, get them pressed. You'll be needing them.
With his promotion secured, Cole Phelps moves into his first true detective assignment, the traffic division. And right out of the gate, he meets his new partner, Stefan Bukowski. Their introduction is awkward, almost humorous, as Bukowski sizes up the well-dressed golden boy war hero who just leapfrogged from patrol to traffic. But beneath the dry humor and jabs, Bukowski warms up quickly. He's one of the few partners in this department who actually respects Cole's drive, even if he thinks he's a little too by the book. Before they can settle in, they run into Roy Earl from Vice, a name that will come up later in the video, so keep that in mind. Roy introduces himself with that slimy charm he's known for, already hinting he wants to work with Phelps someday. It's less of a compliment and more of a warning. Cole's first official debriefing in the traffic division is a mix of praise and pressure. He's commended for cracking the Kalu murder and for his Marine Corps service, and Captain Gordon Leary makes it clear. Traffic may not be the flashiest desk, but it's where real police work gets done. And now it's Cole's turn to prove he belongs here. Their first case arrives almost instantly. An abandoned car has been found at the PE Freight Depot in the warehouse district, and judging by the report, the scene looks ugly. When Phelps and Bukowski arrive, they find a car with the interior covered in blood. A lot of blood. Enough to suggest someone died violently behind the wheel. Except, there's no body. Cole begins combing through the scene, working through the details like a man with something to prove. The car is registered to Adrian Black, a 32-year-old man reported missing the night before. Inside the trunk, Cole finds something strange. A receipt for a live pig purchased by one Frank Morgan. Nobody buys a pig at night unless they're planning something shady. Piece by piece, Cole reconstructs the truth. Adrian Black didn't die. He faked his own murder. The blood covering the dashboard wasn't human at all. It was pig's blood. Adrian staged the whole scene so he could disappear, ditch his life, and escape his marriage. And he didn't do it alone. His drinking buddy Frank Morgan helped him set the whole thing up. When Cole finally tracks down Adrian, the truth spills out easily. Adrian panicked, wanted out of his marriage, and thought staging a murder was easier than telling the truth. Instead of a homicide case, it becomes a simple fraud arrest. For a first assignment on traffic, it's a clean, efficient piece of detective work. Cole's instincts are sharp, his approach methodical, and the department takes notice.
Why not just come clean with her, Black? Why the melodrama? I thought it would be easier. No, it just got a whole lot harder. Adrian Black, you're under arrest for conspiracy and fraud. We'll see what the DA has to say about wasting police resources on a wild goose chase like this. You're gonna lose your wife, lose your job, and probably end up in the big house. Worth it, Adrian.
That turned out to be quite some case, huh? Adrian, what an idiot. You got an arrest and a clearance in your first case, and in fine style, too. Well done, detective. Efficient investigation technique, good public presence. You keep that up and you learn from Bukowski here, you could go a long way in this department.
Cole's next traffic case begins with a scene straight out of a tragedy. A man walking out of a cafe, stepping into the street, getting struck by a speeding car. A hit and run on the surface, but nothing in LA Noir is ever that simple. The case is handed to Phelps, and he and Bukowski head to the scene. Outside the cafe, Cole kneels beside the victim. A quick search of the pockets turns up an insurance letter, the kind that makes detectives raise an eyebrow. If the victim dies, the beneficiary gets $16,000, a small fortune in 1947. Cole also finds the victim's wallet, revealing his identity, Lester Patterson. With the next of kin needing notification, Cole files that away for later. While sweeping the alley behind the cafe, something catches Cole's eye, a bloody knife tossed in a dumpster. Not exactly the calling card for a simple hit and run. Cole pockets the thought, if not the knife, and keeps it all moving. Inside the cafe, Phelps speaks to Shannon Perry, a waitress who witnessed the heated argument between Lester and his wife earlier that night. She also identifies the car that struck Lester, a red Lincoln Continental. That same detail is backed up by a bartender, Dudley Lynch, who not only confirms the argument, but also mentions another name tied to the drama, Leroy Sabo. With the license plate information traced and a new suspect in mind, Cole and Bukowski visit the Patterson residence. Lester's widow, Lorna Patterson, answers the door. From the moment she speaks, Phelps can sense something is off. Her grief feels rehearsed, her story inconsistent, and her explanation of the insurance policy is almost too convenient. Still, without anything concrete, he pushes but doesn't break her. Then we also have Leroy Sabo, who is there, a man who was casual, comfortable, and far too familiar with Lorna for someone who's supposedly just helping her through a hard time. Cole doesn't have the evidence yet, but everything about the pair stinks of conspiracy. Before leaving, Phelps contacts the coroner and is summoned to the morgue. What he learns there changes everything. Lester was already dead before the car hit him. The cause of death? A stab wound. And suddenly, that bloody knife in the dumpster becomes the linchpin that turns a traffic fatality into a murder investigation. With the truth closing in, Cole returns to the Patterson residence for a final confrontation. But instead of breaking calmly, the situation explodes. Leroy snaps under pressure, realizes Lorna is about to roll on him, and shoots her on the spot. Then he bolts from the house and tears through the neighborhood with Phelps in pursuit. It becomes a full-on chase. Alleys, fences, crowded streets, until Cole finally corners Sabo and takes him down. The murder solved, the conspiracy exposed, and justice served once again. Cole Phelps proves he's more than just a rising star. He's the real deal.
So, I give you a hit and run, you bring me back fraud, conspiracy, and first-degree murder. This is how a good detective operates, Phelps. You take nothing at face value. You keep digging and asking questions until you get to the truth. You got some sharp elbows on you, detective. I like that. Keep up the good work.
Cole's final case in traffic begins with what looks like a bizarre accident. A car smashed into a curb, 2 women injured inside, and something heavily jammed into the accelerator. When Phelps and Bukowski arrive on the scene, Officer Gonzalez briefs them. The passenger is Jessica Hamilton, a young girl. The driver is June Ballard, a well-known actress with a reputation for dramatics. But the details of this incident feel darker than show business's troubles. At the crash site, June Ballard claims she and Jessica were drugged by a Hollywood producer named Mark Bishop, insisting he tried to eliminate her because she knows too much. The whole thing reeks of half-truths and performance, so Cole shifts his focus to the evidence. Inside, he finds Jessica's recovered belongings. Phelps finds woman's underwear torn at the seams, not the kind of damage that comes from a simple car crash. In her bag is also a letter from her mother, begging Jessica to come home. The tone, the torn clothes, something terrible happened before the crash. The coroner adds the final piece to the puzzle. The something heavy jammed into the accelerator is a prop shrunken head, the kind used on film sets. This wasn't sabotaged by amateurs. It was staged by someone with access to the studio materials. Cole moves to question June Ballard, who hides behind her star persona, but still drops one name again, Mark Bishop. She claims he dropped both her and Jessica. Maybe she's telling the truth, maybe she's covering her ass, but everything points to Bishop being involved. Next stop is the hospital. Jessica Hamilton is lying in bed, wounded and terrified. Cole retrieves her medical report and sees genital bruising and forcible administration of choral hydrate, a date rape drug. This is no longer a traffic case. This is abuse. This is exploitation. This is Hollywood at its ugliest. During the interview, Jessica mentions a distinctive mermaid statue outside the place where everything transpired. The clue becomes Phelps's North Star. Walking out of the hospital, he spots June Ballard leaving with her lawyer. Something isn't right, so he tails her to a cafe and eavesdrops on her phone call. On the other end, it's likely Guy McAfee, someone we'll talk about later, who was one of the city's nastiest power brokers. June isn't pleading, she's threatening. She wants Bishop handled, and even leaks his address mid-call. The hysterical actress act evaporates. She's dangerous, connected, and desperate. Cole heads to Bishop's apartment. Inside, he finds a $20,000 check, blackmail money, and a photograph of Bishop and Marlon Hopgood taken outside the silver screen props, right next to a giant mermaid statue. Suddenly, everything lines up. The drugs, the prop head, the abuse, and now Hopgood's involvement. Bishop's wife confirms the blackmail and directs Phelps to the prop house. When Cole arrives, Hopgood tries to play friendly, but Phelps pushes him towards the soundstage, and that's where the real story spills open. The stage is a nightmare factory. Bottles of choral hydrate matching the drug in Jessica's bloodstream, a one-way mirror with a hidden camera behind it, a casting couch clearly set up used for exploitation, and even a one-way mirror in the woman's bathroom. This isn't an isolated crime, it's a system, a trap built to take advantage of aspiring actresses. Cole confronts Hopgood, and just as he starts breaking, Roy Earl barges in. Instead of supporting Cole, Roy lets Hopgood walk, revealing that he's been a vice informant. Justice takes a backseat to corruption, and Cole sees exactly what kind of department he's working for. Outside, things escalate fast. Members of Mikey Conan's crew are waiting in the shadows, sent by Guy McAfee to eliminate Bishop. Cole and Bukowski fight off the hitmen in a classic shootout, then chase Bishop across a film set through catwalks, props, backdrops, and studio machinery. It's frantic, theatrical, intense. When Cole finally corners Bishop, McAfee's gunmen descend again. Suddenly, Phelps is forced to defend the very man everyone wants dead. Cole protects Bishop, neutralizes the attackers, and arrests him, proving once again that he follows the law, not the politics behind it. With the case closed, the abuse exposed, and the conspiracy unraveled, Cole's integrity earns him another promotion. And Roy Earl, who we spoke about earlier and showed up again in the story, starts showing Cole another side of the law that will change his life forever.
Instead of sticking it to little girls. That is justice with a capital J, Detective Phelps. You've developed such a reputation, I'm not going to be able to hold on to you any longer. You're getting promoted. Go on, get your new assignment. It was good working with you, son.
Phelps,
Bukowski, this your work? Can I help you, Detective?
sorry, Cap. Didn't see you there.
Yeah, I'll bet you did. This is a traffic case. You need something?
I'm here to buy a drink for the 2 LAPD traffic cops who broke the back of Guy McAfee's private army. You don't have a problem with that, do you, Captain?
Go right ahead.
Get in. I'm buying. You'll like this place. A lot of movie people hang out here. You like jazz, Cole? The hopheads love it.
Sure, I guess.
Big bands and swing I can understand, but this bebop palaver? How are you supposed to dance to that? This is Phelps, Leroy. Be nice to him. You'll like this place. They treat you right.
You like a table, Roy?
What do you think we want to do? Stand at the bar like
I'll
chumps?
get a table ready for you then.
Don't look so happy to see me, Alphonse. I might get the wrong impression. Cole, this is Alphonse. He's a French Negro from Africa. Can you beat that?
The Congo.
A pleasure to meet you, Alphonse.
Is Elsa singing tonight?
There she is. She has the next set.
Come on, Cole. You can meet Elsa while they're fixing us a table. You'll like her. She's something else.
Maybe another night, Roy. She's pretty beat up about it.
Get your hands off me. Don't ever tell me what to do or what not to do, Alphonse. You got a nice club here. Don't spoil it.
If you will follow me, detectives. Just through the door.
He was my only real friend, Harlan. We went through it all. Do you realize what he meant to me?
Of course I do.
You have no idea. You said it was construction work.
It was an industrial accident, Elsa. How can I be held responsible?
Elsa, are you going on?
Louis, for God's sake, he was my best friend. The only man who ever loved me without putting his hands on me.
Hi, Elsa. Here's someone I'd like you to meet. Cole Phelps, war hero and crime fighter extraordinaire.
And why would I want to meet another fascist from the LAPD?
Sorry about this, Cole. What an evening I'm having. First a Negro puts his hands on me, and then this. Who do you think you're talking to, you German junkie whore? Don't you ever forget your place with me again. Do you hear me? Evening, Doc. How's business?
Sanguine. Louis, help me here. I'm gonna have to give her something before her performance.
Blow it off, Cole. These artsy-fartsy types always get a little flighty. Meet Dr. Harlan Fontaine, doctor to the stars. Mr. Fix-It to the mental wreckage of Hollywood. So what about that drink, boys?
Homicide opens up on one of the most brutal scenes in the entire game. A woman is dragged from her car, beaten to death, and left displayed on a hill known as the Moors. It's a far cry from traffic, and Cole Phelps is about to learn exactly what kind of darkness this desk deals with. During his debriefing, Cole finds out that Detective Floyd Rose, the same man he met back on patrol, is finally retiring. And with that vacancy comes Cole's new assignment. He's being transferred to Homicide, partnered with none other than Rusty Galloway, a veteran detective whose cynicism hits Cole like a cold wind the moment they shake hands. When Cole and Rusty reach the crime scene, They're met with something straight out of a nightmare. The victim is naked, mutilated, and savagely beaten. Her body laid out in a way that feels disturbingly intentional. Written across her torso in bright lipstick are two phrases, FUBD and Tex. Cole spots a man's shoe print stomped on her chest, a torn off ring, and signs of prolonged assault. One of the officers pulls Cole aside and mentions something chilling. The injuries match the work of a serial killer local newspapers have dubbed the werewolf. Suddenly, this isn't just another homicide. This could be the start of a pattern. Cole begins searching the brush around the scene and turns up a gold-plated table lighter, engraved and unmistakably tied to the Bomba Club. It's their first lead. At the Bomba Club, Cole talks with Dick McCall, the bartender, who points them towards the victim's husband and provides a suspicious license plate number, 2B8899. The alibi holds water for now, but Cole keeps digging. At the Henry residence, the picture gets darker. The window shows signs of forced entry, broken glass scattered on the floor, and the jewelry in the box is missing, which lines up with the ring torn off the victim. On the refrigerator, Cole finds another note with yet another address. Someone was keeping secrets. Following the trail, Phelps and Rusty head to Jacob Henry's apartment. Inside, Cole uncovers a threatening letter Jacob wrote to his wife, Celine, the murder victim. He's angry, emotional, but not quite enough to prove he killed her. When Cole sits Jacob down for questioning, the man slips into contradictions, forcing Cole to tighten the interrogation. As soon as Rusty starts mouthing off, classic Galloway, Jacob's temper explodes. He knocks Rusty clean out, and Cole is forced to fight him into cuffs. But despite the violence, Cole isn't fully convinced Jacob is the killer. Back at the station, Cole checks in with the coroner. The autopsy confirms a few key details. The stomping on her ribs caused a shock. The murder weapon was likely a socket wrench based on the wound shape. Combined with the evidence from the scene, Cole starts honing in on the license plate from earlier. Running it through records and identification brings up a name, Alonzo Mendez. Cole and Rusty head to Mendez's apartment, and everything finally snaps into place. Inside his room, Cole finds a size 8 men's shoe, a blood-stained socket wrench, clothes covered in blood, and the biggest giveaway, a Cartel Classic Carmine lipstick, the same shade used to scrawl the messages on the victim's body. Before they can even process the mountain of evidence, Mendez walks through the door. The second he sees the detectives, he bolts, sending Cole and Rusty tearing through the neighborhood after him. Cole eventually takes him down and slaps on the cuffs, bringing his first homicide case to a close. With the killer arrested and the case wrapped, Cole earns the respect of the homicide division, even if Rusty thinks he's still too idealistic for the job.
You did a grand job, lads. Phelps, that's quite a way to acquit yourself in your first outing as a homicide investigator. It seems the city has a new and vengeful guardian. Considering the evidence against your suspect and the thoroughness with which a report was compiled, I foresee a safe passage through the courts, and the DA agrees with me. Brutality on a scale such as this deserves retribution. The people and the press of this city demand it.
After wrapping up his first homicide case, we see Cole unwinding for a moment inside the Blue Room Jazz Club, soaking in Eliza Lichman's performance. It's a quiet, moody pause, the kind of Noir foreshadowing that tells you peace never lasts long in this line of work. Outside in a dim parking lot, a woman steps out of her car, only to be savagely attacked. The frame then cuts to black. At the station the next morning, Rusty gets the call. Another female dumped in plain sight. He grabs his coat, tosses the details at Phelps, and the two head out to what will become one of the most disturbing cases of the homicide desk. When they arrive, the scene is chaos. Reporters swarm the area, shouting questions and snapping photos while the captain tries to keep order. He gives Cole and Rusty the rundown while he tells the reporters he'll talk to them after the coroner finishes his report and not a second sooner. Officer Gonzalez leads Cole to the body. The coroner is already there, grim and focused, and he doesn't waste any time. The injuries match the previous murder almost exactly. He believes they're looking at the same killer, possibly connected to the infamous Black Dahlia case. Rusty scoffs at the theory, calling it media hysteria, but Cole listens carefully. The similarities are too sharp to ignore. Cole kneels beside the victim, Deidre Muller, and as he pieces everything together, he notices some things. Rope burns and a lecture mark carved onto her neck. Missing jewelry just like the last victim. Stomp wounds and small male shoe prints leading up to the body. A handbag discarded nearby containing the nameplate Deidre Muller and an address. Cole and Rusty head straight to the Muller residence where they find Deidre's teenage daughter Michelle alone, and her father Hugo Muller is supposedly out looking for her. Cole searches the home and quickly finds that things don't sit right. He finds men's work boots size 8 matching the prints at both crime scenes, a jewelry box with her watch and rings missing, an incinerator in the yard that looks recently used like somebody was burning something. Cole sits Michelle down and gently breaks the news. She opens up telling him her mother was supposed to pick her up from a school dance, but her father came instead. And when she tried calling home, her father Hugo didn't answer until much later. She also quietly confirms that her father has a temper and once brought her mother a golden butterfly brooch after getting violent with her. Just then, Hugo walks in. Cole tells him straight, "Your wife has been found dead." Hugo begins lying immediately, dodging questions, tripping over details. Cole gives him a moment to collect himself and makes it clear he'll be facing more questioning downtown. As the detectives step outside, a neighbor across the street calls out to them. She claims she heard screams from the house the night before and that Hugo Muller was burning something in his backyard. It's a perfectly timed cutscene as she points towards the incinerator where Hugo is right then and there burning a bloody shoe. Cole and Rusty sprint towards him, triggering a foot chase through the neighborhood. Hugo is taken down and arrested and quickly becomes a primary suspect. But the case isn't over. Cole and Rusty make their way to the school after a call. They're following a secondary lead, where another potential suspect emerges, a drifter named Eli Rooney.
What's your name?
Who's asking?
We can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Name's Eli Rooney.
You've been in trouble with the law before, Eli?
Some.
What are you doing around here?
I like to keep an eye on the children.
Strictly paternal, is it, Eli?
Don't sass me, boy.
A woman was abducted here last night, Eli, and murdered.
And I would love to make you for that, you oaky motherfucker.
Well, I wouldn't know nothing about that. A woman, you say? I like 'em a little younger than that.
Turn out your pockets, Eli.
Now, why would I do that?
Because I'm about to break your fucking skull, Eli.
You're under arrest, Eli. You're in very deep trouble. Get some backup down here, Rusty. We need to get this one downtown and into a cell.
I'll tell them we got a kitty raper.
After Eli Rooney is brought in, Cole circles back to the high school grounds and speaks with the janitor, James Kennedy. Kennedy claims that Rooney was lurking around the campus the night before, confirming part of Michelle's story and admitting another wrinkle to the case. With two suspects and a mountain of conflicting evidence, Cole heads back to the crime scene to double-check anything that might have been missed. Out by Deidre Muller's car, Cole pops the trunk and immediately uncovers a worrying set of clues. Green overalls splattered with blood and marked with the initials HM, a length of blood-stained rope, and a bloody tire iron. Every piece points straight back to Hugo Muller, but with Eli's violent history and the neighbor's testimony, Cole can't just commit just yet. He heads to the coroner's office to get clarification. The coroner confirms the cause of death was strangulation, matching the rope found in the trunk, and agrees to run the blood type on the shoe Hugo tried to burn. With the evidence piling from every direction, Cole rides back to the station for the final phase of interrogations. Kennedy insists what he saw implicates Eli. Mahler lies, dodges, and tries to charm his way out of trouble. Eli Rooney is a predator with a pattern, but not all the evidence fits him cleanly. This is where LA Noire leans fully into its detective DNA, because either suspect can be pinned for this murder. It all comes down to how us as players read the clues, the lies, and the body language. Cole eventually makes his arrest, but whether he brings the right man up, that's for debate. And the choice matters. When Phelps hands over the file to the captain, he either praises him for sharp instincts or dresses him down for sloppy police work. No game over, no retry, just the consequences of your judgment stamped into the case report.
Phelps, Galloway, congratulations are at hand. Drink, boys? I think you'll receive a commendation for this one, gentlemen. In the meantime, I'll speak to the DA about expediting the passage of the case. We need swift and merciless justice for poor Deirdre.
Cole's next case of homicide wastes no time reminding him and the player that Los Angeles has the grip of something far darker than isolated domestic disputes. Early in the morning, a body is discovered near the Delray neighborhood, and Cole and Rusty are called out to investigate what looks like another Dahlia-inspired killing. When they arrive, the scene is already crawling with uniforms trying to keep pedestrians back. The victim, Antonio Maldonado, is found posed and mutilated, lying near the base of the embankment. Just like the last murder, she's stripped, beaten, and marked with violent, almost ritualistic precision. Her wedding ring is missing, and her stockings have been tied around her neck. Cole begins combing through the crime scene and immediately finds two major clues: a message written on a nearby wall in lipstick and a bloody piece of Antonio's jewelry. These details echo the previous murders, pushing Cole further into the belief that these aren't random crimes. They're patterned, deliberate, and maybe connected. From here, Cole and Rusty head to Antonia's residence. Inside her apartment, Cole finds a photo, recent signs of a struggle, divorce papers, and personal letters that paint a picture of a woman trying to rebuild her life after a troubled marriage. He learns Antonia has been drinking heavily the night before and was last seen arguing with her estranged husband, Angel. This gives Cole a strong suspect, but like most things in homicide, nothing is as simple as it seems. Cole and Rusty visits Angel's residence next. Inside, violent struggle everywhere. Cole finds a blood-stained shirt. The place looks staged, too obvious, too convenient, doesn't feel right. However, after Angel's arrest, Cole's instincts tell him that this crime doesn't line up with a jealous husband snapping. Once again, Cole visits the Blue Room and quietly watches Elsa sing, a moment that continues to foreshadow how deeply she will become entwined with his life. After the performance, we cut to a set of train tracks where a woman walks alone in the dark. A man approaches her from behind with a wrench and brutally strikes her, killing her instantly. We then return to the police station where Captain Donnelly briefs Cole and Rusty. They discuss the new body found near the tracks, but the conversation also circles back to the earlier Deirdre Moeller case, which is heading to trial soon. Donnelly wants everything all right, so Cole and Rusty must visit both the new crime scene and a pawnbroker who may have information relevant to the Mueller case. The duo decides to stop at the pawn shop first. At the shop, the pawnbroker presents two rings that were brought in. Cole examines them closely. One ring bears Hartfield jewelry markings from Broadway, while the other is stamped with the 22-karat hallmark. The pawnbroker explains the quality and confirms both rings were pawned by a man named Percy B. Shelley, whose address he provides. As they leave, Cole tells Rusty that address is a fake because Percy B. Shelley is the author of the poem included with the Dahlia letter. He believes the same man pawning these rings may be connected to the series of murders. Rusty doubts they'll be able to prove that, but Cole insists they can only hope for a break in the case. Arriving at the railroad crime scene, Cole examines the woman's body and immediately notices a smell of alcohol on her breath and, more importantly, another missing wedding ring, a telltale signature of the Dahlia killer's pattern. Searching her belongings, he finds a torn letter revealing her name, Evelyn Summers. The letter references her alcoholism, but only half of it is present, suggesting someone deliberately torn the other half. Cole finds matchbooks linking her to a bar and a list of purchases from a liquor store. The coroner confirms similarity between this murder and the Dahlia case, though without the hallmark carvings. Cole calls R&I to inquire about Levine's liquor store and proceeds to interview the two witnesses nearby. Cole learns that the witness Ferdinand was actually trying to kiss the woman, and Rusty, being Rusty, decides to sock him in the face. His confession is disturbing. He intended to put lipstick on Evelyn so he could kiss her. Cole arrests him on the spot for tampering with evidence and possible necrophiliac intent. From there, Cole and Rusty head to Levine's liquor store. Mr. Robbins, the shopkeeper, is cooperative and tells them Evelyn spent time with a man named Grover McCaffrey, a self-proclaimed intellectual who seemed to influence her heavily. Searching Evelyn's room, Cole finds a book inscribed with McCaffrey's name and a bowling pin from Rawling Bowling Alley. They next visit the bar, where the bartender, Walter Minch, directs them to ask around the regulars. Cole eventually confronts McCaffrey himself. McCaffrey is calm, guarded, and pretends the relationship with Evelyn was superficial. But Cole reads through the lies immediately. He learns Evelyn recently left the company of James Tarrant, a man who frequents Rawling's Bowling Alley. When Cole and Rusty arrive at the alley, Tiernan bolts immediately. After a tense chase, he's caught and taken in. Back at the precinct, Cole and Rusty regroup, but not before receiving updates on the now fragile Mahler case. With that out of the way, they return the focus to Evelyn's murder and head to McCaffrey's apartment. Inside, Cole finds the other half of Evelyn's torn letter, directly tying McCaffrey to her that night. He also discovers a bloody tire iron and blood-stained clothing. Before they leave, a woman enters and tells them McCaffrey is on the roof. Cole chases him down and arrests him. On the drive back to the station, Cole expresses doubt. This case feels off, but Tiernan and McCaffrey had motive, both had opportunity, and both are lying about something. Yet, neither confession feels definitive. When they arrive, Captain Donnelly pressures Cole to make sure the right man gets put away. Cole interrogates both suspects, weighing their stories, evidence, and personalities. Ultimately, he must decide who to charge, each choice leading to a different outcome, but this is only the beginning of the larger case.
Well done, lads. You did well with the Summers case. But we have a problem. The examiner received a new letter today.
Do you mind if I take a look, Ray?
Go right ahead. They've both been rinsed in gasoline like the previous letters, so I can't lift a print.
Cole studies the recovered files, lining up the torn pieces until the full message comes together. Once again, he finds another Shelley excerpt, another literary taunt from the killer, along with a second poem script and, more disturbingly, an empty envelope meant to provoke the police. From here, Cole begins what becomes a citywide chase, following the trail deliberately crafted by the murderer. Every location is a puzzle, a landmark tied to a poem, a riddle that demands Cole think like a killer. Rusty complains the whole way, but Cole sees the bigger picture. If this man is truly responsible for the earlier murders, including the Dahlia, then this is their only chance to expose the pattern and finally bring all the unsolved killings under one name. The clues take the duo everywhere, into libraries, museums, public parks, and abandoned ruins across Los Angeles. Each site contains another message, another taunt, and another piece of evidence showing how long this killer has been operating unnoticed. Eventually, the trail leads them to an abandoned church on the outskirts of the city. Inside, Cole and Rusty find a man they both recognize, Garrett Mason, the temporary bartender from A Marriage Made in Heaven, the hit-and-run case that later became a stabbing investigation. Mason steps out of the shadows and reveals himself as a true murderer, the man behind the trail of women killed throughout LA. He speaks with the confidence of someone who has outsmarted the police for years. Before Cole can finally confront him, Mason bolts. Cole gives chase, running through the rooms until he discovers Mason's slaughterhouse, a place soaked in the history of his crimes. Blood-filled tubes, butcher tools, scalpels, even a bloody tire iron scattered around the room. Evidence from case after case is all here, confirming that Mason is responsible for several of the most brutal murders across the city, including those pinned on other suspects. Cole follows him deeper underground, into the catacombs beneath the building. The chase is claustrophobic, frantic, and violent, leading to a final confrontation in which Mason is killed. Despite the LAPD finally bringing down the man who terrorized Los Angeles for years, politics immediately begin to twist the narrative. The department rushes to close cases, rewrite reports, and ensure that the story makes the city look safe and the police look competent. Cole hopes this marks the turning point, but instead it becomes a moment he realizes just how fragile justice really is when the truth threatens the institution.
Where's the press, Cap? I think Phelps and I should get a medal for this. This has got to be the case of the year, right? The case of the century when you think about it.
Are you finished?
Yes, Skipper.
Good. Because there won't be any press briefings or commendations.
What are you talking about? We got the werewolf, the guy who killed the Dahlia, killed all the other broads.
You got no one. Mason was a ghost.
Can you at least tell us why, Captain?
Mason is the half-brother of one of the most highly elected officials in this country.
How high?
Beyond the moon for mere mortals like us, Rusty. There'll be no more mention of him. The city owes you both, but there'll be no mileage in ever bringing this up again.
What's going to happen to the suspects in the cases, Captain? I won't be a part of that.
A bit of missing evidence at the grand jury. A procedural error here, a mistake there. They'll all be quietly let go. The DA knows how we'll have to play it.
That's it?
I'm afraid it is. And I have some news for you, Phelps. No more rooting around in the entrails of cadavers and corpses for you. The head of Vice has asked the chief for you. I'm reluctant to see you go to the glory boys of that Vice, but my hands are tied. Go home to that lovely wife of yours. Celebrate your promotion.
Now officially part of Administrative Vice, Cole is introduced to his new partner, Roy Earl, a man already infamous for his ego, his connections, and his willingness to bend the rules when it benefits him the most. Their first assignment together drops immediately. 2 black men found dead on Yucca Street. When Roy dismisses the case with casual racism and indifference, the captain shuts him down hard. He reminds Roy that the victims died from Army-issued morphine, which does make it Vice's business. The tension is clear. Roy and the captain used to be partners, and whatever happened between them still lingers beneath the surface. With no room to argue, Roy reluctantly follows Phelps to the scene. At the crime scene, Cole examines the bodies and speaks with the coroner, learning more about the morphine epidemic plaguing Los Angeles and hinting at the mass distribution chain behind it.
Government-issued morphine? We use the same syrettes in Okinawa.
Fucking Negro junkies can't take supply this pure.
You know these guys?
I know of them. The younger one's a 2-bit horn player by the name of Cornell Tyree. The other one works in distribution. Started using a little too much of his own product, and Jack D took exception. He wasn't born that ugly. His name's Lamont. Tyrone Lamont.
So who's supplying the drugs?
That's easy. Whoever knocked off the wharves in San Pedro. Jack Dragna, Mickey Cohen. Dope's been all upside down ever since Jimmy Utley started the long walk at Quentin.
You talk about it like it's a system.
It was a system. But those days are long gone.
We are supposed to uphold the law.
Yeah, and we do. But we can't change people. The truth is, everyone wants a license to get a little dirty now and then. Our job is to keep it manageable.
That's how you see it?
See it any other way, and you better forget about being a vice cop.
Can we get on with this? Today, preferably?
Once the conversation wraps, Cole begins pulling apart the crime scene. He finds gambling slips, a strange doodle featuring a cherry, bell, and wind symbols, and most importantly, morphine cigarettes lying beside one of the victims. What shocks him even more is that the Black Caesar lunch cups scattered around the men are actually cover operations for distributing drugs. Cole marches across the street to confront the Black Caesar stand, but the moment Roy flashes his badge, the vendor bolts. Phelps gives chase, tackles him, and even brings down his friend who tries to intervene. The man, Fleetwood Morgan, becomes Phelps' first real lead in Vice. Searching the area, Cole finds more pieces of the gambling racket. Policy numbers hidden inside a trumpet case, a Blue Room admit ticket linking jazz musician Jermaine Jones to the operation, and in the back room, a full crate of morphine prepared for street-level sale. When questioned, Fleetwood reveals a supplier named Armstrong Edwards. Roy steps in, noting Edwards' name before, and suggests that Edwards and Jermaine Jones might be tied to someone bigger. Morgan is arrested, and the investigation moves forward. On the way to Jermaine Jones' musical booking agency, Roy starts prodding Cole about being at the Blue Room despite being a married man. Cole deflects, then turns the conversation to Hopgood from the old traffic case, which Roy also deflects, showing that both men have secrets they'd rather keep buried. Once inside Jones's office, Cole uncovers stacks of cash, morphine, marijuana, Ramez removal stickers, which was proof of a wider network. Questioning Jones reveals the real power behind the scenes. Lenny Finkelstein, brother-in-law to notorious gangster Mickey Conan. Cole recognizes Ramez as the same man Jones bought a radio from, tying the operation together.
Well, well, who would have thought that Roy Earl's handpicked new partner would have turned out to be such a great case man? This is a good result, Phelps. As far as we can tell, Lenny the Fink was moving the morphine across the city and as far north as Frisco. This makes the feds very happy, and it makes Mickey Cohen look bad. I won't lie to you, kid. I like the headlines. I like them a lot. You keep this squad in the papers, and we'll get along just fine.
In Cole's final excursion with Vice, a shooting at the 111 Club pulls him and Roy into a case that at first glance seemed like it should belong to homicide. But once they discover that the victims were carrying an Army-issue supply of morphine, the case becomes Vice's problem as well. At the club, Cole meets his former traffic partner, Stefan Bukowski, who informs him that the murdered owner, Eddie McGolrick, who had served with Cole in the Marines, had passed. The other dead man belonged to the same jazz band that Cole encountered in his first Vice case. Searching the scene, Cole finds morphine hidden inside a trumpet case, along with the Blue Room ticket linking the victims back to the city's jazz circuit. He also finds stolen Valor cigarettes and stolen Browning automatic rifles, both traced to the Army surplus robbery. Cole interviews the club hostess and then makes his way to the Blue Room. There, he finds Elsa Lichman rehearsing with the band. Phelps interrupts, insisting this is an active police investigation. Elsa pushes back, and when Roy nearly strikes her, Cole steps in, defending her, one of the rare moments that shows how far he's drifted from the rest of Vice. Cole questions Elsa, though she resists, and her bandmate ends up answering more freely. After a brief confrontation, Elsa walks away in frustration. Roy returns to Jetson and goes see Mickey Conan immediately, but Cole refuses, insisting they leave it for tomorrow. Roy warns him not to test his patience. Later that night, Cole follows Elsa to her apartment and doesn't leave until the morning. Come morning, the detectives visit Mikey Conan. Conan and his men make their presence felt immediately, but Cole pushes forward, asking about the drug pipeline and the 111 Club murders. When Cole mentions the connection between the Marines and the morphine and the stolen weapons, Conan sidesteps the question. As the detectives leave, one of Conan's henchmen slips and mentions the dope and the number of people dying, confirming Conan's involvement, whether he admits it or not. Back at the station, Cole and Roy visit the burglary division to learn more about the dock heist on the SS Coldridge. They learn the robbery was likely an inside job involving morphine syrettes, stolen rifles, and cartons of cigarettes. Looking at the manifest, Cole sees names from his old unit and begins to suspect some of the Marines he served with may have been part of the heist. Just then, a bus shooting is reported, and the detectives spring into action. At the scene, they kill one of Conan's men and find a note detailing a hit on a man named Alvaro. Cole then finds Felix Alvaro, another Marine from his old unit and one of the names on the manifest. Alvaro insists the bus shooting was random, but Cole pressures him about the Coldridge heist and Conan's involvement. At first evasive, Alvaro eventually opens up, explaining that Conan thinks he has the morphine simply because he was on the ship. Alvaro also mentions that Courtney Sheldon, yet another former Marine, is trying to sort this mess out, and that Jack Kelso is now living in Los Angeles as well. With that lead, Cole heads to Kelso's apartment.
Hello, Jack. This is Detective Roy Earl.
Hello, Cole.
We would like a word.
Would you like to come inside?
Actually, we'd prefer if you'd come downtown with us. Do you mind?
Do I have any choice?
No, you don't.
Are you going to tell me what this is all about?
It would be better for all of us if we discussed it at the station.
Bad move, Cole.
How have you been, Jack?
Cut the crap. You pick me up in front of my apartment like a common criminal and then expect small talk? Fuck you.
At the station, Cole questions Kelso directly about the stolen morphine. Kelso denies involvement, and Cole quickly realizes he's telling the truth. Kelso is visibly shaken to hear that McGoldrick and his fellow Marine came into sudden money and is now dead. The conversation clears Kelso and deepens Cole's unease. Before they finish, a cop rushes in reporting another shooting, this time at Robert's Diner involving Chris Majewski, another Marine who served with Cole. Cole and Roy pursue the shooters and kill them, discovering on the bodies a carbon copy of the SS Coldridge manifest with handwritten coordinates, as well as a notebook detailing the meetings between Courtney Sheldon and Mikey Conan. Following this evidence, they head to the Hollywood post office. On the way, Cole pieces together someone is killing off every Marine who was on board the Coldridge. At the post office, a volley of gunfire breaks out. After putting down the attackers, Cole finds Walter Beckett, mortally wounded but still alive long enough to deliver a final message for Courtney Sheldon. Beckett admits the men had bad luck, then dies. In Beckett's pocket, Cole finds a business card for Lenny Finkelstein with Polar Bear Ice Company's logo, connecting the Coldridge heist directly to the earlier drug distribution case. Inside the building, Cole finds another Marine dead, Michael Driscoll, along with a note about a meeting scheduled for that night. They race to the location, arriving just as Conan escapes in his car. A massive shootout breaks, tearing through the lot as Cole and Roy fight their way through Conan's men. The chaos finally settles, and back at the station, Roy receives a word that Courtney Sheldon, accompanied by Dr. Harlan Fontaine, is requesting to speak with Cole. In the interrogation room, Cole presses Courtney about the murdered Marines and the hits placed on his old unit. Courtney admits Conan is targeting everyone involved with the Coldridge. When Cole asks about Beckett's confession, everything he knows about the heist and the involvement of the remaining Marines, Courtney begins to unravel. And just as Cole gets close to uncovering the whole truth, a devastating twist hits. One that no one sees coming. A twist that ends in Cole's time in Vice, destroys his reputation overnight, and sets the stage for the corruption at the heart of Los Angeles to reveal itself.
For him, is there anyone you're not prepared to sacrifice? Jack is not in this. He's a good guy. You were Jack, Courtney. I don't care who goes to jail. I just want the morphine off the street. What are you offering, Cole?
Don't be ridiculous, son. This man is gambling.
What's your offer?
Doctor, good to see you.
I'm conducting an investigation.
Upstairs in my office now.
This man is about to confess.
As of now, you're suspended from duty, pending a fitness review.
What are you talking about?
You heard the man, Phelps. Upstairs and face the music like the hero you were.
You certainly had us fooled, Detective.
Phelps, you're one of my favorite sons. You've broken this old man's heart.
Sir, what is going on?
You're suspended, Phelps. Hand over your badge and gun.
Don't keep him waiting.
What is going on here?
Your wife's attorney has pictures of you and the German. Compromising pictures.
She's pressing charges. You'll be formally charged with adultery. A criminal cannot serve as an LAPD officer, as I'm sure you're aware.
I don't understand.
How could you do it, lad? Your wife, your children, consorting with the enemy and a dope fiend at that. You're lucky the war is over. You'd be taken out and shot.
The department doesn't need this kind of publicity, Phelps. Hand over the gun, keep your head down until your board hearing. I forbid you to make any comments to the press. What the hell were you thinking?
Marie, listen, Marie, I need to explain.
Please leave. You're upsetting the girls.
Let me see them, Marie. They're my daughters.
Go to her, Cole. You have done enough damage here. Do you want me to call the police?
For God's sake, Marie. Can't we at least talk?
What is there to talk about? Do you love her? Do you? What were you thinking? What about our children? Can you imagine what this has been like for them? Go away, Cole. My father has hired an attorney and you will be hearing from him.
I'd like to explain, Marie. I'd like to tell you what I've been going through.
What you've been going through. I have had reporters camped out on the front lawn all morning. I can't stand it, Cole.
Cole's transfer to arson begins with a case that feels simple on the surface. A house fire in suburban Los Angeles, a family dead, and a report that hints at an accidental gas leak. After everything that happened in Vice, Cole walks into his new assignment with fresh skepticism. He needs a new partner, this time Herschel Biggs, a grizzled detective who carries himself like a man who has seen more failures in the LAPD than victories. Biggs doesn't trust Cole, doesn't want Cole, and makes it very clear he doesn't care about Cole's golden boy reputation. Their working relationship is cold, tense, and distant, but the case forces them together. Cole's case in arson drops him and Biggs right into the rooms of yet another tragic house fire, one of several identical incidents that have been happening all across Los Angeles. At the Steffens and Sawyer's home sites, the two detectives step carefully through the charred debris, trying to make sense of what's left. That's when Cole spots something unusual, an instant heat Model 70 regulator valve lying outside the house, blown clean from the heater. Every time a home has gone up, the exact model has been involved. The house valve is scorched, and they're ruptured in a way that suggests more than just one sloppy installation. Biggs has seen enough fires to know when something is off, and is starting to look at a pattern, maybe even sabotage. Wanting real answers, Phelps and Biggs heads to the fire station to consult experts. There, the chief walks them through how faulty regulators could allow gas to pool inside a home, how lit a coil could gradually heat the pressure valve, and how the eventual rupture could blow a house apart. It's horrifying, but it's also methodical, meaning someone with technical knowledge could weaponize the defect. With that in mind, they pay a visit to the Instant Heat factory. The plant supervisor, Ivan Rasik, provides service records for all Model 70 units linked to recent fires. 3 names keep coming up in the paperwork: Walter Clemens, Reginald Varley, and Matthew Ryan. Cole digs deeper, searching the employee lockers. What he finds suddenly complicates the picture. Varley's locker has mosquito coils, the same kind Champion carried. Clemens has nothing too damning, but Ryan's locker is full of anarchist pamphlets, anti-capitalist slogans, and literature framing corporate America as the enemy. He's not shy about his beliefs either, openly pushing back against big companies and the system that employs him. It raises the possibility that someone might be using faulty corporate equipment to make political statements in the most violent ways possible. From there, Cole and Bates go after their suspect one by one. Varley bolts the moment he sees them, forcing a chase that ends him cornered and surrendering. Ryan takes it a step further, jumping into a car and trying to force his way out of the city before Biggs puts him off the road. Each man has motive, each has an opportunity. Varley serviced several burned homes, including the Sawyers. Ryan has a history of radical activism, once faced charges for nearly killing a man during a heater installation gone wrong. Individually, they both look guilty. Collectively, they look like pieces to a much bigger puzzle. Back at the station, Cole interrogates Varley and Ryan. Varley is jumpy, defensive, and insists the mosquito coils are for stress. Ryan leans into his ideology, railing against corporations and treating the investigation like a battle of principles rather than a murder case. Cole, as a player, chooses who to charge, but the uncomfortable truth is that the evidence against Ryan is circumstantial at best, and the broader pattern fires, land purchases, and redeveloped neighborhoods hints at something far larger than workplace sabotage. In the end, the department expects Cole to lock up Matthew Ryan. He's the easiest fall guy, an outspoken radical man with a criminal past, the kind of person the city can conveniently villainize. But the case's real significance isn't the arrest, it's the cracks forming beneath it. The defective valves, the suspicious buyouts, the sudden accidental fires, all points towards a conspiracy that stretches far beyond a single arsonist. Cole senses it, Biggs senses it, and it's at this moment where the arson death stops being about burned houses and starts revealing rot at the core of Los Angeles.
Matthew Ryan, I'm charging you with committing a series of arsons and for the murders of Hank Sawyer, Edwina Sawyer, Henry Sawyer, and Jessica Sawyer.
You're putting an innocent man away here. You hear me? I didn't set any fires. I didn't kill that family.
Phelps, what you did to your wife and kids was un-American.
My wife threw me out.
Did I ask for your opinion? You're here to listen to mine. What I was going to say, before I was interrupted, was you did a good job on the Stephen Sawyer case. We don't often get results in arson, so well done.
What about me? Do I get a little stamp by my hand or a lollipop or something?
What you get is another case. A bad one, unfortunately.
Cole and Biggs' next call takes them to one of the bleakest scenes in the entire arson death, the Morelli house. The building has been reduced to a skeleton of charred beams, the family trapped inside with no hope of escape. Their bodies lie huddled in the remains in the living room, a heartbreaking image that immediately unsettles both investigators. Cole finds a family photo near the remains, now blackened at the edges, a stark reminder that real families, not abstract victims, are being destroyed in these fires. In the yard sits the now familiar sight of a blown instant water heater, the same catastrophic regulator failure seen in previous cases. Around the property and along the neighborhood's fence line, Cole discovers cigarette butts, footprints, and a newspaper, signs someone stood there long enough to watch the house burn. Interviewing the neighbor Dudley Foreman sheds even more light on what happened. Foreman mentions hearing the explosion, seeing the fire erupt instantly, and even noticing some lurking around the days leading up to it. But the most alarming detail comes when Foreman mentions that the Morellis had recently won a promotional weekend getaway, courtesy of Elysian Fields. Biggs pulls a folded up paper crane from his pocket. It's the same Elysian Fields flyer they've seen before. Foreman then produces his own flyer, identical to the first, tying Elysian directly to the families who win trips just before their homes mysteriously explode. It's no longer a coincidence. These fires are selecting their victims. The captain sends Cole and Biggs to Rancho Escondido, a brand new Elysian development currently boiling with angry homeowners. When they arrive, the neighborhood is practically rioting. Residents are furious because their brand new houses are literally falling apart. Biggs disperses the fight, and Cole begins inspecting the construction. The truth becomes immediately obvious. The concrete is junk. It's full of cheap aggregate, sand, brittle-filled material, so low grade, it crumbles under the slight of pressure. Elysian isn't just clearing old neighborhoods with suspicious fires, they're rebuilding it with disastrous, unsafe materials. The picture becomes clear. Burn down older homes, acquire the land cheaply, then put up cheaper houses to flip for massive profit. Families lose everything while developers cash out. Armed with this knowledge, Cole and Biggs march straight into the gleaming offices of Elysian Fields to confront its polished, silver-tongued executive, Monroe. Monroe acts unbothered, leaning on charm and political connections to make their accusations seem trivial. When Cole presses him about the contest, the faulty construction, and the families who conveniently vacated their homes before the burn, Monroe dances around the responsibility, suggesting the detectives are overreaching. Every question Phelps asks bounces off a wall of corporate insulation, hinting that Monroe isn't just a businessman, he's someone deeply protected. The more he talks, the more obvious it becomes. Elysian is at the heart of something enormous, and the fires are merely one cog in a much larger machine. As they leave, Monroe's assistant hands them a list of contractors. Cole immediately recognizes one name, Herbert Chapman, the same unhinged firebug arrested earlier. When he calls in, they learn Chapman has already been released and has a current residence. At Chapman's rundown apartment, Cole checks the trunk of his car and discovers Makito coils, 45 ammo, and multiple Elysian flyers. All the tools of the fires are here, but now they're accompanied by direct links to Elysian's so-called contest program. Before Cole can act, Chapman appears, panics, and flees, hijacking a passing trolley and forcing a dangerous chase through downtown Los Angeles. In the end, Chapman is gunned down, silencing the one man who could have spoken openly about who was really pulling the strings. With Chapman dead, the department is quick to label him the arsonist behind everything, but the evidence Cole has gathered and the increasingly suspicious role of Elysian Fields tells a different story. Chapman wasn't the mastermind, he was the disposable tool. The real operation is far bigger, involving targeted families, fraudulent construction, land acquisition scams, and a redevelopment fund that stretches from crooked businessmen to City Hall itself. By the end of this case, Phelps and Biggs aren't just investigating fires anymore. They're staring into the core of the Suburban Redevelopment Fund conspiracy, a machine powerful enough to burn families out of their homes for profit and protected enough that the LAPD is expected to look the other way.
Couldn't be happier than to wipe him off the scoreboard. I hope this puts to bed that crazy stuff you had going about Leland Monroe. What were you thinking, Phelps? We'll be calling Richard Nixon a crook next.
What is it?
A letter from Lou. His insurance policy named me beneficiary.
California Fire and Life. You worked for Elysian?
The roof that he was working on collapsed.
It's a very generous settlement. Elsa, I'd like you to do something for me. I think there's something dirty about Elysian Fields.
What has that got to do with Lou?
I want you to reject this settlement. I want you to go and see an investigator named Jack Kelso and ask him to make some inquiries about Lou's case.
Isn't this police work?
Do you want to find out what happened to Lou?
Why would he help this Kelso?
Jack won't be able to help himself if he smells a rat.
He's a friend of yours?
He hates my guts. Elsa, you could take this money and let them get away with it, or we could get Jack's help and do something about it.
Why not be honest with this man, Cole? He deserves your honesty if you want his help.
Believe me, Elsa, I'd like to level with him. I really would, but it's too late. Years too late.
The story now shifts to Jack Kelso, who, if you recall from the last Vice mission, Cole had issues with. Kelso's first major step into the conspiracy comes when he sits down with the Butchwater file, an insurance claim that immediately smells wrong. Mr. Butchwater has died in a house fire just days after signing his property over, and now the company wants Kelso to deny the widow's payout. The settlement note, the reassignment document, and the usual timing all point to something far larger than a disrupted policy. When Kelso brings the file to Elsa, who is helping Miss Butchwater fight the denial, his suspicions deepen. She tells him Butchwater didn't want to sell, that Elysian Fields pressured him, and that the fire happened right after he reluctantly signed. It's the same pattern Cole and Biggs have seen again and again. Families harassed, houses destroyed, claims contested. Only now Kelso realizes he's standing in the middle of the same storm Phelps has been caught in for weeks. Kelso decides to go directly to the source. At Elysian Fields construction site, he pushes his way into the foreman's trailer and begins piecing together paperwork, demolition orders for homes recently burned, internal memos tied to the Suburban Redevelopment Fund, and cement delivery receipts linking subcontractors to the cheap construction found at the Rancho Escondido. Out behind the trailer, he finds a stack of lumber with studio logo, evidence that Elysian's construction materials are being funneled through questionable channels. Before he can process the discovery, a bulldozer roars to life and straight at him. Kelso dives into the trench system as the driver tries to bury him alive. Confirming that he isn't uncovering corruption, he's threatening someone powerful enough to silence him permanently. Using a phone at the site, Kelso traces the lumber mark to Keystone Film Studios. He breaks into the studio a lot and follows the scent of conspiracy into a small projection room. There, in the dim lit of the projector beam, Kelso plays a reel that changes everything. On the screen, high-ranking figures discuss the Suburban Redevelopment Fund openly.
In a great day for the future of Los Angeles, civic leaders and businessmen joined forces to launch the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. The Suburban Redevelopment Fund pledges to speed up housing development for returning GIs.
Gentlemen, this is Dr. Harlan Fontaine. He's our latest investor in the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. Doctor, this is Curtis Benson. He's Vice President of the California Fire and Life. Pleased to meet you, Doctor. Ray Gordon, editor of the Times. Doctor. District Attorney Donald Sandler and Police Chief Warren.
Gentlemen, I am delighted to be in such exalted company.
You're making quite a name for yourself, Doctor, amongst the thespian fraternity.
I find that those of artistic temperament are often of a fragile mental disposition.
It's a short step from miscreant to recidivism, Doctor.
Very true. But I think we could all agree that the City of Angels does rather well basking in the reflection of the motion picture industry.
Hear, hear. And it's something that every sucker getting off a train at Union Station wants a part of. Gentlemen, we're here to sell the American dream, and Hollywood is our greatest advertiser.
So, how is your new development selling, Leland?
Cannot throw them up fast enough, Ray.
And that's part of the problem, Leland. Washington is receiving steady complaints. There's a clamor for public housing.
God damn it, Ray. Public housing is tantamount to communism. Now, that's why we fought this goddamn war. I'm telling you, it's Reds via the back door.
You can't have it both ways, Leland. The new freeways are being built to service all your developments out in the boondocks. They're all being built with government money.
The GI Bill is government money.
There's a difference.
What difference?
The GI money ends up in my pocket.
I hope you mean our pockets, Leland. We're all investors.
Of course, Curtis. So, when will the freeway bond be passed on?
It still has to be ratified. Takes a long time to raise $3 billion.
The film makes one thing painfully clear. Elysian Fields isn't a redevelopment company. It's a machine of calculated destruction backed by the most powerful men in the city. But exposing that machine won't be simple. Kelso heads into another Elysian track to verify what he's seen, only to find a lone model home that mirrors every arson patterns Phelps has documented. Faulty wiring, gas setups ready to blow, and staged living areas prepared for new families who will never arrive. Before he can leave, Hired Muscle ambushes him upstairs. Now there's no doubt. These aren't rogue employees or political opportunists. Someone with reach, influence, and muscle once Kelso erased. He stumbles to the street, commandeers a car, and immediately finds himself hunted by gangsters. A desperate chase erupts through downtown Los Angeles, Kelso forcing sharp turns through alleys and industrial blocks until his pursuers finally break off. Only once he's clear does he make his way out to Elsa's apartment. She brings him inside, shaken by his injuries, and as Kelso explains what he's uncovered, the film, the fun, the murders, the attempted hits, the full length of the conspiracy finally takes shape. The Suburban Redevelopment Fund, Elysian Fields, and Keystone working together to burn families out, seize the land, and rebuild Los Angeles on a foundation of corruption. By the end of this case, Kelso isn't just an average investigator anymore. He's a man holding the evidence that can topple the entire operation.
Hello, Miss Lichtman. How long have you been sitting there?
Not long, Mr. Kelso.
You look lovely, Princess. You haven't exactly caught me at my best. It's okay, Miss Lichtman. I'm a big boy. I know how to take my licks.
Please, call me Elsa.
Okay, Elsa? What can I do for you?
I'd like to explain because
I can join the dots, Elsa.
Cole needs your help, Jack. The police department have frozen him out.
Look, you're obviously a brave lady, but you can't fight all Cole's battles for him.
I just wanted to apologize for...
You don't have to apologize. You were right about Elysian Fields. Tell me something. What was Lou Buckwalter's regular job?
He was a carpenter. He built sets for RKO, Warner Brothers.
Set carpenter? Perfect. If you don't mind, Elsa, I'd like to get a little rest now. I've got a lot more dots to join, and it's making my head hurt.
That's perfectly understandable, Mr. Jack. I hope we can meet again under less dramatic circumstances.
I hope so too, Princess. I'd like that.
You Kelso?
Who's asking?
Peterson, Assistant DA.
You're in the wrong building, Peterson. This is a hospital.
A wise guy. Let me tell you a story, Kelso.
Can I get the abridged version? My head hurts.
You're a funny guy, Jack.
What do you want, Peterson?
A colorful character mentioned your name. He said that you might know something about...
There's a problem with colorful characters, Peterson. First they send you over a drink, then they buy you dinner, then you get a phone call in the middle of the night for a favor. Try rubbing shoulders with some solid citizens. They're the ones you're supposed to protect.
You finished, Kelso?
For the moment.
I'm going to run for DA, Kelso. The current administration stinks.
And you want me to help?
I'm looking for a DA's investigator. You get a gun and a badge and $120 a month.
I get $150 a month now.
I'm going after the Vice Squad, Kelso. It's going to get me elected.
I've got something better. How about Leland Monroe?
The property developer?
You think I fell down the stairs?
Kelso's next move takes him straight to the lion's den. Curtis Benson's penthouse. Benson is a high-ranking executive at California Fire and Life, but Kelso knows he's knee-deep in the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. The moment Kelso steps inside, the veneer respectability cracks, papers scattered, documents unattended, and Benson is visibly settled by Kelso's appearance. When Benson tries to hide behind charm and whiskey, Kelso tears through the apartment, uncovering share certificates in Benson's own name, proof he personally profited from the fund. Even worse, the insurance agreement tying California Fire and Life payouts directly to Suburban Land Clearing Operation. The implication is unmistakable. Benson denied legitimate claims so the fund could acquire burned properties on the cheap. When confronted, Benson folds under pressure. He confesses nothing outright, but every attempt to deflect is an admission. Everything about the Butchwater fire, everything about the fund, it all points to orchestrated fraud, bribery, and a man who sold trust for a cut of the money. Kelso even learns the true man that Benson really is.
How old are you, Princess?
16, mister?
How old are you really?
Nearly 13.
You take love where you can find it as you get older.
Love? That has nothing to do with love, Curtis.
Some might find your romantic notions endearing, Jack. I find them very tiring.
You're finished, Curtis.
That remains to be seen, Jack.
I haven't told you about my new job, Curtis. DA's investigator.
Who do you think the DA reports to, Jack?
Get dressed, you're getting out of here.
He's not so bad. He just lays on top of me and grunts for a few minutes. He's kind. And he buys me nice things.
Get dressed, you're leaving.
She will only come back.
Kelso's next stop is one far more personal. His old office at California Fire and Life. Under cover of the darkness, he slips inside and rifles through the redevelopment blueprints, documents, and payout records. Each file echoes the same scheme. Land appraised low after a tragic incident, rebuilt cheaply, then funneled through the suburban redevelopment where profits skyrocket. A cut transitions to the Hall of Records, where Kelso drives to the land registry. And there it is, the truth. The truth Phelps has been circling since arson began. The principal owners of the fund, Fontaine, Monroe, Benson, the mayor, and several political allies, men who shape the city, men who write its future, men who believe no one would ever trace the ashes back to them, seeing their names listed side by side transformed the conspiracy from suspicion to certainty. The fires weren't accidents, they were a business plan. But before Kelso can leave, the fund makes its move. Gunmen ambush him inside the Hall of Records, turning the public building into a war zone as Kelso shoots his way through stacks to stay alive. It's no longer about business or land or insurance. Someone has decided that Kelso is too close, and the only solution now is to take him out. He escapes, battered but breathing, and returns to his apartment to catch his breath. Instead, he gets a call, one that changes everything. The voice on the other end pushes him towards Leland Monroe directly. No more circling, no more pieces of evidence. If Kelso wants answers, it's time to face the architect of the entire operation. What follows is one of the most explosive confrontations in the game. Kelso storms Monroe's mansion, fighting through waves of hired guns across the property. The marble floors, the polished halls of Monroe Estate become a battlefield, a grotesque monument of the wealth he accumulated by burning families out of their homes. When Kelso reaches Monroe's office, the truth is laid bare on the desk. Payroll books listing bribes, more fund share certificates, correspondence implicating Fontaine, and a chilling roster of homeowners who refuse to sell. The same exact names later wiped off the map by accidental fires. Monroe's influence, Fontaine's manipulation, Benson's compliance, it all converges into a picture of deliberate, systematic destruction.
Can't be stopped, Kelso. There's too much money at stake.
Kingdoms rise and kingdoms fall, Monroe. Ask the Emperor of Japan.
Have some fucking mercy!
Operator, put me through to Phelps, arson squad. Yeah, Biggs, it's Jack.
I'm at Monroe's. He's in a talkative mood. If you get here in a hurry, you might get something before he bleeds to death. Elsa.
Oh, thank God.
Where? Fontaine. Dead? Former patient.
So that crazy son of a bitch finally came back for a checkup.
It's Monroe. He's raving.
You want information, cocksucker. You get me some medical help.
I've got to go, Herschel. Monroe's negotiating again. Do you want my final offer, Leland? Tell me how I find the guy who has Elsa.
Not Casey. He did whatever Fontaine asked. He had some kind of power over him. He did all the fires and then he went off the rails. I don't have a fucking name! He worked as a bug sprayer. Get me a goddamn doctor! Kelso, you son of a whore! Get me a goddamn doctor!
The final case of LA Noire opens not with Cole Phelps but with Jack Kelso, following the thin threads left behind the arson investigations. He starts by checking 3 pest control companies: Rapid Exterminators, Nuclear Bug and Rodent Control, and Westlake Pest Control. On paper, these businesses seem harmless, but Kelso quickly realizes their fronts tied to the same houses that burn in the Elysian Fields redevelopments. These stops connect every prior arson to a single method, a single pattern, and eventually a single man. The trail leads to Dr. Harlan Fontaine's office, the supposed pillar of the community, and the man Courtney Sheldon once trusted with his life. What Jack and Cole find inside is the darkest revelation yet. Fontaine is dead. Elsa is unconscious and wounded. Morphine syrettes are scattered on the floor, and the walls are filled with blackmail material on the half of the city. On Fontaine's desk lies the last piece of the puzzle, a development map pencil over sections showing burned out neighborhoods paired with parcels already absorbed into the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. Fontaine wasn't just laundering morphine or manipulating vulnerable patients. He was coordinating the entire conspiracy. Kelso takes his map straight into the next step of the investigation. Hidden in the bunkhouse are things no rational man should possess: military flamethrower components, field equipment, and the same origami cranes left on the arson scenes. On the back wall hangs a massive map of the LA tunnels, each path carefully marked and measured. It becomes devastatingly clear. The arsonist isn't some political radical, nor is he a hired thug. It's Ira Hogbone, one of the Marines from Cole's old unit, a man broken by the horrors of Okinawa and exploited by Fontaine. Ira had been weaponized, convinced that burning homes was the cleaning of the city, just as fire had been used in the war. This place isn't just a hideout, it's an echo chamber of his trauma, and the tunnels map reveals exactly where Ira has been operating and how he's been moving undetected beneath the city. When the control shifts back to Phelps, he's already secured the district attorney's support. Cole knows the LAPD brass will never allow Kelso to expose the fund, so he personally escorts him towards the storm drain entrance. What follows one of the most tense chases in the game. Other LAPD units acting under Chief Urban's orders trying to intercept them. To the department, Cole is now a rogue cop protecting a man who attacked Monroe's mansion. To Cole, this is the only way to expose the truth. The drive becomes a symbolic reversal. Phelps is no longer enforcing law and order. He's protecting justice. After outrunning the police, Cole and Jack make it to the LA River access point. From there, Jack goes in alone. Deep underground, Kelso moves through the labyrinth tunnels with a rifle, later finding a flamethrower from Ira's caches. The tunnels are dark, flooded, and crawling with armed men connected to Monroe and Fontaine. They are here to kill Ira and erase the last trace of the conspiracy. Kelso pushes through the water, walkways, and chambers, following the map he memorized. Eventually, he reaches Ira, who sits among candles and origami cranes, still trapped mentally in Okinawa. Their reunion is heartbreaking. Ira remembers Kelso, remembers the men they lost, and begins to realize how Fontaine twisted his trauma into obedience. He breaks, confessing he didn't mean to hurt anyone. Kelso doesn't see a monster. He sees a soldier abandoned by the system that was supposed to care for him. As they attempt to leave, the tunnels begin to flood and collapse, and that's when Cole appears, emerging from another passage, soaked and exhausted but determined to save them. He helps Kelso guide Ira and Elsa towards the ladder as water surges behind them. In a final moment of clarity, Cole knows someone has to hold the collapse at bay. He stays behind, bracing himself against the torrent, shouting for Kelso to get Elsa out. The water slams through, sweeping Cole away into the darkness. The man who fought his entire career for justice dies alone underground, crushed beneath the literal and metaphorical weight of the city's corruption. The final scene at Cole Phelps' funeral is a masterpiece of hypocrisy and a quiet tragedy. City officials praise him as a hero, protect their reputations. Roy Earl stands amongst the mourners pretending he wasn't part of the machine that destroyed Cole's life. But at the back of the church stand only the people who truly understood him: Elsa, Kelso, Briggs, and the newly elected district attorney. They know Cole didn't die because he made a mistake or crossed the wrong woman. He died because he challenged the system built on exploitation, greed, and silence. And exposing the truth, Cole Phelps becomes the final casualty of the Suburban Redevelopment Fund, and thus ending LA Noir.
We're gathered here to honor Detective Cole Phelps. Cole Phelps was the best kind of man. Hear, hear. A war hero who led his men with true valor, and through his personal bravery achieved one of his country's highest honors. A cop wrongly accused who never lost his faith in the LAPD and the system.
Fine! You belittle his memory.
Elsa.
Get out of my way, Jack. You call yourself his friend.
A detective who fought to expose the evil corruption of the murderous Dr. Fontaine and the rapacious property tycoon Leland Monroe.
Go to her. Will you, Herschel?
A reformer
You
who
were never his
recognized
friend,
the need
Jack.
to remove the odd bad apple from a department
right.
made up of good men.
Herschel?
A man who never gave up.
Yeah, Jack.
Who
I was
continued
never
to
his
fight
enemy.
the good fight.
I think you knew that, Jack.
The fight that cost him his own life. A good husband. A good father. And may I say, a good friend.
When you first start digging into LA Noir's story, it's easy to think the newspapers are just collectible set dressing, little favorite pieces to make 1947 Los Angeles feel authentic. But the more you play, the more you realize the newspapers are actually the backbone of the larger conspiracy. Every time Cole picks one up, the game yanks us out of the point of view and drops us into a flashback cutscene. Courtney Sheldon talking with Dr. Fontaine, meetings with Mikey Conan, backroom deals with the mayor and the DA, Ira talking about fires. None of this is happening in front of Cole. It's happening behind the headlines he's reading and behind the polite version of the city that the LAPD keeps trying to sell to the public. The early newspapers are all about trauma and treatment. We see Courtney approach Fontaine after a lecture, asking if battle fatigue can be helped. Fontaine gives him the smooth professional answer: therapy, drugs, hypnosis, and then immediately recruits him to work in his clinics. The next paper shows one of Courtney's Marine buddies on the couch, broken by vicious from the war, while Fontaine quietly drugs him up to compliance. On the surface, these scenes are about control and the difficulty of treating PTSD. But they're also painting one of the game's core themes: damaged veterans being used by people in power. Fontaine isn't just a doctor, he's a salesman, and the patients in his clinics are raw material.
Have a seat.
Thanks, Doctor.
How are you finding working at the clinic?
It's, fine.
Are you sure?
Can I be honest with you, Doctor?
I would hope so, Courtney.
I was hoping that the therapy would be more beneficial.
Treatment can, unfortunately, be very long-term.
So many of the patients here are addicts, Doctor.
Many of them have been for years, Courtney. In the past, these people were condemned to sanatoriums. If we can reveal the root of the problem, then we have a chance to help them.
And until then, they stay sedated?
Do I detect a hint of reproach, Courtney?
I was expecting more, Doctor. I'm sorry. I don't mean to criticize.
Part of being a physician, Courtney, is learning to be patient.
How is it possible to keep so many of them on their medications, Doctor? Many of their addictions are illegal.
Oh, many things in life are gray, Courtney. What may on the surface appear to be illegal is actually of benefit to society at large.
As you keep finding papers, the focus shifts from medicine to money. Courtney complains that most of the people at the clinic are addicts being kept seated, and suddenly Mikey Conan walks in like he owns the place. In another cutscene, we watch Conan and Fontaine pressure Courtney into repackaging the stolen morphine, turning what was supposed to be a one-time heist into a full-blown drug pipeline. Later, Courtney confesses to Fontaine that the Coleridge robbery was their doing and people are dying because the morphine is flooding the streets. Fontaine's response isn't moral outrage, it's a business pitch. He offers to take it off their hands, reinvest the money into suburban housing for returning servicemen, and make everyone rich while pretending it's for charity. Through the newspapers, we see the Suburban Redevelopment Fund born, not as some noble veteran program, but as the offspring of war trauma, organized crime, and a very friendly doctor who knows exactly how to talk people into bad decisions.
Talked some of the guys in my old unit into doing something, and it's gone wrong. I guess I did it for the wrong reasons, for short-term gain. We came home from China on the Coolidge.
The morphine robbery.
That was us. I thought I could get the guys a fair share. Some sort of benefit for the sacrifices that they made in the war. Those guys deserve it, Doctor.
Oh, I'm sure they do, Courtney. But the deserving aren't always rewarded.
Tell me about it, Doc. We shifted our stuff onto this mob-connected guy, and it's been turning up all over town. It wasn't meant to be like this.
The presumption was rather naive, Courtney.
I know that now, Doctor. But people are dying.
Might I venture a few questions?
Sure.
Do your underworld contacts have all the morphine?
No, they don't. We doled it out, hoping we could control it.
Are they pressing you for further allocation?
That's the polite way of putting it, Doctor.
I may be able to help you, Courtney.
Thanks, Doc. It helps just to talk about it.
I mean, I have a solution that will help you financially and salve your conscience.
I'm all ears, Doctor.
I will transact to take all the narcotic off your hands. And you can rest assured that it will all be medically administered. I will use the funds that I no longer require for the purchase of medication and invest them in housing developments.
Housing?
The developments in question are housing projects for former servicemen. Your return will come from the sale of the properties, and your investment will benefit those that you care for most. Does this arrangement meet with your approval?
You're a magician, Doctor.
The further you go, the uglier it gets. One paper drops us into a meeting with the mayor, the DA, and Roy Earl, panicking about a call girl scandal that might blow up the administration. Roy calmly offers them a different story to feed the press. Cole Phelps, war hero turned adulterer with a German junkie. A human interest sacrifice to protect the reputations that really matter. Newspapers here aren't just props, they're weapons. The same medium that should be exposing corruption is being used to bury it, and we get to see the spin being manufactured in real time. It ties directly into the game's theme of image over truth. As long as the front page looks clean, nobody cares how dirty the city actually is.
We have to look at damage limitation. We can't allow that strumpet Brenda Allen to bring down the whole administration.
We've got to put a lid on the press. Can't someone talk to Harry over at the Times?
It's too late. The Times would look ridiculous if we dropped the story now.
Who is this Stoker?
Stoker's a lily-white. Nothing that will fix this in the short term.
My law and order credentials are disappearing as we speak. Can we get Brenda to leave town?
Yes, we can, but she won't go quietly. Brenda has extensive records.
Can she at least lay low?
That's already been taken care of.
Mayor? District Attorney?
Who is this guy? And what does he want, Horrell?
Name's Roy Earl, detective, administrative vice.
Aren't you one of the clowns that got us into this mess?
Oh, I think that the orders regarding Brenda come down, not up, Mayor. I have a human interest story. It involves a certain LAPD cop, a hero from the war, who has let his beautiful wife and kids down, who has betrayed America for a German junkie whore, who has abandoned his pledge to the LAPD and his commitment to the public. We all serve. Could be all over the papers by tomorrow, and you would be off the hook.
So what do you want in return, Roy? Fingering a fellow officer?
By the time we reach the late game papers, the whole picture has been snapped into focus. Ira, shattered by the war, talks to Fontaine about the fires being cathartic, while Fontaine casually steers him towards burning down Elysian Fields developments that have already been embarked for insurance fraud. Courtney finally realizes the houses are going to be torched with families still inside and goes to confront Fontaine about the Serpent Redevelopment Fund, only to be murdered in stage as a drug overdose. In the last newspaper cutscene, Kelso finds Courtney's body and tears into Roy, spilling out the entire conspiracy, the morphine heist, the fund, the mayor, Monroe, Fontaine, and the certain crooked cop holding it all together. Cole doesn't see any of this conversation, but we do. And that gap between what the player knows and what the protagonist knows is where the noir really lies.
An investigator for California Fire and Life has seen them. He was almost killed when he found out what was going on.
I don't know what to say. I feel that I have been duped. Who do you think is behind this subterfuge?
Jack says it's a property developer named Monroe. He said it goes all the way to the mayor.
You cannot have believed that I was involved.
I don't know what to believe anymore, Doctor. I hoped that you weren't involved.
Thank you for your trust, dear boy. Be still, Courtney. All of your troubles are finally over. Let them go. Let them drift away.
So when we talk about things like corruption, the cost of truth, and the illusion of the American dream, the newspapers are a roadmap. They show how veterans trying to rebuild their lives and getting sucked into schemes that turn their trauma into profit. They show public officials more worried about headlines than human beings, and they quietly reframe the whole story. Cole's individual cases aren't random murders and arsons. They are symptoms of a much bigger system that's been rotting since the war ended. The newspaper are LA Noir's way of telling us you're not just solving crimes, you're reading the autopsy report on an entire city.
Of yours is burning down our houses.
Keep your voice down, Leland. Control is of the essence.
Keep your voice down. Do you know how much these sons of bitches charge for lunch? Fuck them.
Leland, we will not solve our problems by announcing them to the general public. We only speed ourselves on our way to the gallows.
He's your imbecile, Harlan. Get him under control or get rid of him.
Speaking of which, I've had to dispose of our young medical student.
What? Certainly are a cold character, Harlan.
He has a friend called Kelso who knows all about the development on Normandy Avenue.
I know about Kelso.
And you thought it unimportant to inform me.
I thought I could take care of it.
And have you?
No, I haven't.
Kelso works for Benson. Is he reliable?
No, he's totally unreliable. But he has so many pernicious habits, he's got nowhere to run.
Can you take care of Kelso?
Don't push me, Harlan. Get rid of the fruitcake. It's no longer necessary. I'll take care of Jack Kelso.
When you look at LA Noire in historical context, the game takes on a completely different weight. It isn't just a detective story set in the late 1940s, it's a direct reflection of post-war Los Angeles, a city drowning in rapid expansion, rising violence, and the psychological fallout of World War II. Many of the cases Cole Phelps investigates weren't invented for the game. They're dramatized interpretations of real crimes that shook Los Angeles during the time. Take the driver's seat, for example. What looks like a simple disappearance is actually based on the real 1947 case of Eugene White. A Marriage Made in Heaven, centered around a hit-and-run turned insurance scam, mirrors the true 1944 death of J.D. Shitwood and echoes the noir classic Double Indemnity. And once you move into homicide, the real history becomes impossible to ignore. The red lipstick murder draws heavily from the gruesome death of Janine French, whose body was found stoned to death with the initials BD scrawled into lipstick, details that the media immediately tied to the Black Dahlia killing just weeks earlier. The Golden Butterfly parallels the mutilation of Dorothy Montgomery, another murder originally suspected to be a part of a serial pattern played in the city. Even the Silk Stocking murder, the White Shoe slaying, and the studio secretary murder are all rooted in trauma from the 1947's Los Angeles, where young women were found murdered in cases that often went unsolved. By grounding cases in real-world history, LA Noire isn't just recreating a time period, it's forcing players to confront the violence and fear that defined Los Angeles during the late 40s. What makes the game even more significant is how it tackles psychological scars of war. Nearly every character in the larger conspiracy, from Cole to Kelso to Sheldon to Ira, carries some degree of what the era called shell shock or battle fatigue. Today, we understand these conditions as post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD for short. But in the 1940s, the treatment was primitive, inconsistent, and often exploitative. The newspaper flashbacks make that painfully clear. Young veterans are desperate for help, seeking treatment from people like Dr. Fontaine, only to be manipulated, over-medicated, and often used as pawn for a housing fraud scheme. The game uses these characters to show what happens to thousands of soldiers who came back from the Pacific Theater physically alive, but psychologically damaged. Courtney believes he's doing the right thing by stealing morphine to help his fellow Marines. Ira self-medicates his trauma by setting fires, believing he's cleansing the world. Kelso shuts down emotionally, unable to adjust to civilian life. And Phelps himself is haunted by guilt, forever trying to live up to an impossible standard of heroism. By stitching real crimes together with the emotional reality of post-war trauma, LA Noire becomes more than a detective game. It becomes a portrait of a city and generation trying to rebuild themselves after one of the most devastating conflicts in human history. It reminds us that the Noir era wasn't just about fedoras and neon signs. It was a time where corruption thrived and the cracks left behind war, and where the people who needed help the most were often the ones exploited the hardest.
Are you okay, Princess?
I felt better. He saved me from the doctor.
Hi, Tex. Do you remember me?
I'm not sure that I do. Have you come here to kill her?
Why would I do that, soldier?
Isn't that why you're all here?
I'm here to get her out.
Her, but not me. You haven't come for me.
No, not you. It ends here.
You were with the 6th on Sugarloaf, weren't you?
I was.
And Naha?
Yes, I was.
You're Sergeant Jack Kelso, aren't you? Where's your uniform, Sarge?
At home in my locker, Hogaboom.
War's over, soldier!
I know that, Sarge. I'm fighting a different kind of war. I fight for God now.
We all fight for God, Ira.
In our own ways. Not everybody knows it.
Elsa! Are you all right? Get away from her! It's all right, Cole. He doesn't want to hurt her. Ira was with us on Okinawa.
What?
You know this guy?
Don't you remember me, Lieutenant? I remember you.
No. Don't.
You ordered me to burn that cave, Lieutenant. That cave full of civilians. A hospital.
What is he talking about?
It was war. For God's sake, I can't be held responsible for everything that happened.
I don't blame you, Lieutenant. You helped me to help other people.
Ira lost his mind on Okinawa, Princess.
Sheldon asked the doctor to help him get it back.
The doctor helped me to find my path. And I helped him to a better life.
Elsa's going to leave now, Ira. She will be all right. You've helped her, too. Get her out of here. Biggs will help. His ex is nearby. Jack, I need this guy to make the case. Hasn't this poor bastard given you enough? Get out of here now!
For God's sake, Jack! What are you going to do?
Don't cry, miss. Sergeant Kelso has come to help ease my way. I was proud to serve with you, Jack.
Get out of here, Cole!
One of the most striking things about LA Noire is that the cases grow larger. Cole Phelps begins to realize the criminals he's chasing aren't the real threat. The rot is coming from inside the institutions that claim to protect Los Angeles. The corruption isn't a twist at the end. It's been shaping everything he's touched from the moment he pinned on a badge. The LAPD, the district attorney's office, the city council, the real estate giants, even the medical system, every institution is infected. They don't operate for justice, they operate for order, a polished surface that hides a city built on exploitation. As long as the papers stay quiet, the voters stay calm, and the money keeps flowing, the truth doesn't matter. Cole tragically is one of the only people in the story who believes justice is worth fighting for, and that idealism becomes his greatest vulnerability.
Supply this pure.
You know these guys?
I know of them. The younger one's a two-bit horn player by the name of Cornell Tyree. The other one works in distribution. Started using a little too much of his own product, and Jack D took exception. He wasn't born that ugly. His name's Lamont. Tyrone Lamont.
So who's supplying the drugs?
That's easy. Whoever knocked off the wharves in San Pedro. Jack Dragna, Mickey Cohen. Dope's been all upside down ever since Jimmy Utley started the long walk at Quentin.
You talk about it like it's a system.
It was a system. But those days are long gone.
We are supposed to uphold the law.
Yeah, and we do. But we can't change people. The truth is, everyone wants a license to get a little dirty now and then. Our job is to keep it manageable.
That's how you see it?
See it any other way, and you better forget about being a vice cop.
You especially feel this in the back of the half of the game. Cole begins sensing emptiness behind each solved case, the sense that he's only scrapping at the surface while something massive is burning beneath him. Cases end with closed stamped across the file, but nothing feels resolved. Innocent people still die, guilty people still walk, and higher-ups congratulate him not because he found the truth, but because he made the department look good. That's why the fires matter so much. At first, they seem like the work of a single disturbed veteran, Ira, but as the story unfolds, these fires expose the city's moral decay. They're connected to the suburban redevelopment scam, an operation where powerful men like Monroe, the DA, Fontaine, even Roy Earl exploit the returning servicemen, burn down their homes, and pave over the entire communities in the name of progress. It's a perfect metaphor. LA wants to rebuild, but instead of healing, it chooses to burn the past down and profit from the ashes. Cole's downfall happens because he won't play along. He wants justice, not order, and justice threatens the entire system, so the system eats him alive. Even Elsa gets caught in the crossfire. She's a representation of innocence damaged by the world Cole tries to fix. She doesn't want to be a part of his crusade. She just wants peace for her own trauma. When Cole dies, the camera cuts to her face, tired, grieving, and utterly alone. Biggs, a man who understood Cole better than most, stands beside her, equally disgusted with how the LAPD handled everything. And then there's the funeral scene. Cole is buried a hero, but listen who attends. The mayor, the DA, Leland Monroe. Roy Earl gives a eulogy. The very men responsible for his destruction, they show up not out of respect, but to claim victory. Their presence is the game's final statement. Institutions protect themselves, even while standing over the body of a man they betrayed. Cole becomes just another casualty of corruption, filed away like a closed case. No justice, just order.
A good husband. A good father. And may I say, a good friend.
By the time LA Noire reaches the arson desk, the game finally reveals what's been smothering beneath every case Phelps has touched. Los Angeles isn't just corrupt, it's being engineered for profit and destruction. The fires aren't random tragedies, they're a blueprint conspiracy that stretches from real estate moguls to city officials to respected doctors. This is where LA Noire moves beyond detective fiction and becomes a story about how power reshapes a city, even if it has to burn down first.
In a great day for the future of Los Angeles, civic leaders and businessmen joined forces to launch the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. The Suburban Redevelopment Fund pledges to speed up housing development for returning GIs.
Gentlemen, this is Dr. Harlan Fontaine. He's our latest investor in the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. Doctor, this is Curtis Benson. He's Vice President of the California Fire and Life.
Pleased to meet you, Doctor.
Ray Gordon, editor of the Times.
Doctor.
District Attorney Donald Sandler and Police Chief Warren.
Gentlemen, I am delighted to be in such exalted company. You're making quite a name for yourself, Doctor, amongst the thespian fraternity. I find that those of artistic temperament are often of a fragile mental disposition. It's a short step from miscreant to recidivism, Doctor.
Very true. But I think we could all agree that the City of Angels does rather well basking in the reflection of the motion picture industry. Hear, hear. And it's something that every sucker getting off a train at Union Station wants a part of. Gentlemen, we're here to sell the American dream, and Hollywood is our greatest advertiser.
So, how is your new development selling, Leland?
Cannot throw them up fast enough, Ray.
And that's part of the problem, Leland. Washington is receiving steady complaints. There's a clamor for public housing.
God damn it, Ray. Public housing is tantamount to communism. Now that's why we fought this goddamn war. I'm telling you, it's Reds via the back door.
You can't have it both ways, Leland. The new freeways are being built to service all your developments out in the boondocks. They're all being built with government money. The GI Bill is government money.
There's a difference.
What difference?
The GI money ends up in my pocket.
I hope you mean our pockets, Leland. We're all investors.
Of course, Curtis. So, when will the freeway bond be passed on?
It still has to be ratified. It takes a long time to raise $3 billion.
The Suburban Redevelopment Fund is presented to the public as a noble project, affordable homes for returning servicemen, the backbone of America's post-war dream. But the truth is far darker. Monroe and his partners weren't building neighborhoods. They were building profits, and the people inside those houses were expendable. The homes were constructed with faulty insulating materials, cheap, flammable, thermal-like compounds that turned a simple kitchen into a death trap. When that wasn't enough, conspirators resorted to deliberate arson to wipe out the entire developments, claim insurance payouts, and rebuild on more lucrative land. Fontaine is the linchpin in the entire conspiracy. On the surface, he's a psychiatrist, helping wounded veterans. In reality, he's funneling morphine, manipulating patients, laundering money through housing scams, and ensuring no loose ends escape. He drugs, hypnotizes, and psychologically breaks people into becoming his personal arsonist, someone so traumatized by war that Fontaine can convince him burning homes is part of some cleansing ritual. That wasn't corruption. This is weaponized trust, a doctor using mental illness as a tool.
Lie down, make yourself comfortable. So, you're a friend of Courtney's?
Yes, Doctor.
He seems very concerned about you.
I have these visions, these blinding visions. I can't get them out of my head.
My skull, it feels like it's in a
I'm
vice.
going to give you something to calm your nerves. I want to take you on a journey back. I want you to remember the good things about your past, occasions that made you laugh, times that made you smile.
Jack Kelso's investigation into the house fires is the turning point of the story. Kelso doesn't care about politics, rank, or image. He cares about the truth. He sees the same pattern Cole does, but unlike Cole, Kelso isn't bound to loyalty to the LAPD. He can ask the questions Cole isn't allowed to ask. His discovery of the combustive building materials is the moment the conspiracy stops being speculation and becomes an undeniable fact. Once more, Monroe and Fontaine realize Kelso is digging too deep. The conspiracy becomes violent. Witnesses start dying, houses explode before Kelso even arrives, and the corrupt officials tighten their grip. Monroe doesn't fear exposure because he has protection from the mayor, the DA, the LAPD's vice division, even Roy Earl. The systemic corruption, everyone profits, so everyone keeps quiet. Ira becomes the human cost of this conspiracy. A veteran with severe PTSD manipulated into committing arson, used as a scapegoat, and ultimately discarded. He symbolizes every soldier the city promised to shelter, and instead sacrificed for profit. Ira doesn't understand zoning laws, insurance scams, or redevelopment funds. He only understands fire, and that's what makes him the perfect pastry.
It's an unfortunate and grisly end.
I've come to help you, Doctor. To help you cross over. All your sins will be forgiven in the next life.
By arson, Cole no longer believes in the LAPD as a force for justice. He sees the conspiracy clearly, but he's powerless to stop it from the inside of the department. His old Marine identity, his belief in order, duty, and righteousness collapse under the weight of the truth. Cole's partnership with Kelso becomes symbolic of redemption. Kelso fights corruption from the outside, Cole from the inside. Together they expose Monroe, Fontaine, and Elijah Fields, but Cole pays the price. He dies not a disgraced cop or a hero, but as another casualty of a system that protects power over truth. The arson investigation reveals that the city will burn its own people if profit is involved. Veterans are tools, not heroes once they return home. Police and politicians protect wealth, not the truth. Justice requires sacrifice and often goes unrecognized. The entire conspiracy, from the faulty building materials to the zoning scams to the hypnotized arsonists, functions as a metaphor for post-war Americans. A nation desperate to rebuild, willing to ignore the trauma, its foundations until the whole structure collapses. Cole doesn't die because he failed. He dies because he cared. And in 1947 Los Angeles, caring enough to expose corruption was the most dangerous crime of all.
Jack, it's a murder case, and I need help to solve it.
So what's it got to do with Elysian Fields developments?
They're in it somehow. The flyers keep turning up whenever I find a domestic fire.
They're boosters. Stiffing GIs for deposits, making them wait months for a throw-up house. They're already making more money than they can count. What's turned them into killers?
So you believe me?
This is why you dragged me into the Buckwalter case.
Look, Jack, I'm sorry. But if not for me, do it for some of the poor saps who are dying. Or some of the leathernecks who are getting grifted. How about it, Jack?
I know you, Cole. You're still beating yourself up over that medal on Sugarloaf. The medal you think you didn't deserve, but you just don't get it. Nobody deserves a medal. It's just the ridiculous situation you find yourself in and how you react to it. You think you failed up on that hill. But courage isn't a tap you can turn on or off. Courage isn't permanent. It's a tenuous and fickle thing. Courage and cowardice exist in every man. Get over it.
You got it off your chest.
I guess I have.
Can you help me, Jack?
I'm thinking about it.
When it comes to gameplay, LA Noire doesn't feel like anything else Rockstar has put out. On paper, it's an action-adventure game, but in practice, it's more of a slow-burn police procedural than a sandbox crime spree. You spend the bulk of the game in the polished shoes of Cole Phelps, starring as a patrol officer and working your way up through LAPD desks, traffic, homicide, vice, and arson. Each desk is built around a set of cases, and those cases are the backbone of the experience. This isn't a pick any mission off the map game the way GTA is. You're working through a self-contained investigations in a multi-linear order. Later in the story, the perspective shifts and you take control of Jack Kelso, which gives you the final act a different flavor but the same core mechanics. One of the most unique parts of LA Noire is how the story is broken up into different LAPD bureaus, each representing a new chapter in Phelps' career and each pairing him with a new partner who brings their own energy to the cases. You start on the patrol desk, learning the basics and working low-level incidents before moving up to traffic, where you handle hit and runs, vehicular homicide, and cases connected to LA's booming post-war culture. This is where Cole works alongside Stefan Bukowski, one of the most steady, level-headed partners in the game. From there, you're promoted to homicide, the darkest and most intense deaths, dealing with brutal murders tied to the Black Dahlia killings. Here, Phelps works with Rusty Galloway, a cynical, whiskey-soaked veteran who clashes with Cole's idealism. After homicide comes vice, focusing on drugs, corruption, and organized crime. And Cole's partner, Roy Earl, is practically the embodiment of the cops' corruption, constantly reminding you how rotten the department can be. Finally, you reach arson, where the tone shifts into conspiracy and cover-ups, and Phelps crosses paths with Kelso, setting the stage for the game's final act. Each desk doesn't just change the kinds of cases you investigate, it changes the entire atmosphere of the game, shaped by the people you partner with. The structure of a typical case is simple on the surface. You get a briefing, roll out with your partner, hit the crime scene, you start piecing things together. This is where the game leans into its detective fantasy. You walk the scene, examine the body, and comb through the environment for clues, bloodstains, footprints, matchbooks, discarded weapons, ticket stubs, anything that might tie into the bigger picture. When you're near something important, you hear a little musical chime and see Phelps glance at it. Once you found all the clues, the investigation music stops, signaling you're ready to move on. If you want a more pure detective experience, you can turn the clue hints off, but that also takes away the audio clues, so you're truly on your own at this point. Every clue you pick up gets logged into Phelps' notebook. People, locations, evidence, all neatly categorized. That notebook is basically your entire lifeline. It's not just a quest log, it's what you flip through when you're trying to catch someone in a lie or when you need to remember exactly what size shoe you found in the suspect's apartment. And that leads us to the real meat of the gameplay: interrogations. Thanks to the motion scan tech we talked about in the background information section, interrogations are where LA Noire really comes alive. After you've worked the scene, you start talking to witnesses and suspects. Phelps pulls out his trusty notebook, you pick a line of questioning, and the game turns into kind of an interactive poker match. The writing is important, but the performance is even more important. You're watching eyes dart away, lips twitch, shoulders tense. Do they sound confident, or are they stalling? Once someone gives an answer, you have to judge it. In the original release, your options are truth, doubt, or lie. Later versions relabeled these as good cop, bad cop, and accused, but the idea is identical. If you think you're being honest, you can go with truth. If something feels off, you don't have proof, you can hit doubt, and Phelps leans on them harder. If they flat out contradict something in your notebook, you select lie and then present the exact piece of evidence that exposes them. Pick wrong too often and Phelps will blow up the interview or miss critical information, which hurts your overall case ranking. To keep things from becoming completely overwhelming, the game gives you intuition points, basically lifelines you earn by leveling up. You can spend them to narrow down interrogation choices or highlight remaining clues on the map. It's like a built-in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire safety net for people who don't want to restart the entire case because they are misread a smirk. Outside of interviews and crime scenes, LA Noire still remembers it's a Rockstar game, so there's a healthy dose of chaos, shootouts, and brawls. You'll be sprinting after suspects on foot, climbing fire escapes and over fences, or tearing through the streets of LA in high-speed car chases. Combat uses familiar third-person setup, auto-aim, a cover system, and a simple melee fighting system. You got a standard sidearm you could pick up, heavier weapons in firefights, but you can't just whip a gun out whenever you want to. Phelps only draws when situation calls for it. Your partner will sometimes lean out the window and shoot at fleeing car during driving chases, and if you get too beat up, drains towards black and white until you find cover and recover. While you can roam the city freely, LA Noire gives you the option to let your partner handle the driving. It's convenient, it speeds things up, and honestly, it helps if you don't want to rack up $1 million in property damage. But there's a trade-off. When your partner drives, you skip the trip entirely, and that means you might miss out on two huge parts of the experience: random select street crimes and organic dialogue between Phelps and his partner. Those moments in the car are where you really learn who the characters are. Bukowski trying to keep Cole grounded, Rusty ranting about women and whiskey, Roy Earl being Roy Earl, and Kelso digging deeper into the corruption around them. If you skip all that, you're missing a big chunk of the world building and character development. It's one of those rare cases where driving isn't just transportation, it's storytelling. Even when you're not causing chaos like in GTA, LA still feels alive. NPCs react to your presence, gossip about Cole's promotions, and sometimes even comment on how that detective from Homicide is back on the streets. It's a subtle touch, but it adds personality to a city that's already filled with pedestrians, traffic, radio shows, and 1940s advertisement. That said, the game definitely has its rough edges. LA Noire has unskippable cutscenes, which can get frustrating on repeat playthroughs, or if you just want to replay specific interrogations. And the AI is charmingly bad at times. You can flick your siren to clear a path only for pedestrians and cars to run directly into you like they're trying to get written up in your case notes. It doesn't ruin the experience, but it is a reminder that even a groundbreaking game like this wasn't polished to perfection. Every case in LA Noire ends with a 5-star rating, based on how well you investigated, how cleanly you handled interrogations, and yes, how much destruction you caused along the way. Crash too many cars, destroy too much city property, or fail interrogations, and your star rating drops. Cole is always evaluated by his superiors, and the game constantly reminds you that sloppy police work has consequences. You can't fail a case outright, but your rank will grow slower, and your end of case report will read like a disappointed parent telling you they're not angry, they're just very disappointed. As you solve cases and earn experience, Phelps climbs through the LAPD ranks, unlocking new outfits and hidden vehicles. These aren't just cosmetic either. Some outfits give some small gameplay bonuses, like better aim or reduced damage from gunfire. The hidden cars are scattered throughout the city, and they are another fun collectible, each one a beautifully modeled piece of 1940s automotive history. The ranking system tops out at about level 20, and each rank gives you rewards like intuition points, outfits, or access to special vehicles. It's a light progression system, but it adds a nice sense of achievement as you move through the desk. Your partners aren't just warm bodies riding shotgun. In LA Noire, their built-in support system. You don't know where the street is? Ask your partner and they'll guide you while driving. Just press either X or press square. Miss a clue or feel stuck in an investigation? They'll give a subtle hint or point you in the right direction with the same button. It's one of the game's smartest design choices because it makes you feel like you're part of an actual police duo, someone to bounce theories off of, or someone who reacts differently depending on the desk, someone who occasionally calls you out when you're stretching too far. These partners make the world feel more grounded, and in a game built on observation and subtlety, having a second voice in the car adds a ton of immersion. The important difference is that you're a cop, not a criminal. Property damage, running civilians over, smashing into traffic, none of that is encouraged. In fact, all that chaos lowers your star rating at the end of the case. You're graded on how well you investigated, how clean your interrogations were, how you responsibly handled the city. You can arrest the wrong suspect and your captain will let you know you messed up. But the story still moves forward. The punishment isn't a fail state. It's a lower score and a nagging sense that you didn't quite do your job right. The open world itself is more of a stage than a playground. 1947 LA is beautifully recreated with period accurate cars, radio shows, landmarks, and even an optional black and white filter that really leans into the noir vibe. Although when you have to follow a certain car with a certain color, it becomes kind of a hassle. You can answer optional street crimes that pop on the radio and cruise the city to discover landmarks and collect hidden items, but the focus is always pulled back towards the next case. Under the hood, the controls are basically evolution of GTA 4. Driving, aiming, shooting, all felt similar if you've played Rockstar games before, but the pace is completely different. This isn't a chaos simulator. It's closer to an interactive crime drama with bits of action sprinkled in. Think Heavy Rain crossed with GTA controls and a TV cop show structure, and then you have LA Noire. So when we talk about this game's gameplay, it's not just about shooting or driving. It's about observing, listening, and judging. The real mechanic is your ability to read people, connect clues, and live with the consequences when you're getting it wrong. And for a lot of players, that's what makes it stand out. Because instead of asking how many guys did you shoot, LA Noire quietly asks, how good a detective were you really? The Xbox 360 version of LA Noire dropped on May 17, 2011 for North American markets and May 20th, 2011 for European markets. And it came on 3 separate DVDs, 4 if you bought the later complete edition. Because of the DVD's format storage limits, the story had to be split across discs, causing mid-game disc swaps depending on which cases you were investigating. Technically, the game targets at a 720p at 30 frames per second, but compared to the PS3 version, it has slightly more pop-in, softer shadows, and a more noticeable dips in busy scenes. Some reviewers at the time pointed at the 360 version's ambient occlusion looked a bit more natural, but the overall PS3 had a slight technical edge. Still, for players on Microsoft's platform, this was a faithful and fully featured version of the game, just one that needed a few disc changes along the way. The PS3 version released on the same day. Because LA Noire was developed with the PS3 as the lead platform, the game fit comfortably on a single Blu-ray disc, avoiding the disc swaps issue entirely, like the Xbox version. It runs at 720 by 30 frames per second, but the PS3 release generally delivers smoother performance, cleaner LOD transitions, and a slightly stronger draw distances. The PlayStation version also launched with an exclusive bonus case in North America, the console's card, before it was later included in the complete edition and remaster bundles. For many players, the PS3 was considered the intended version, with Rockstar having tuned the technology specifically for Sony's hardware. The PC version arrived on November 8, 2011 for North American markets and November 11, 2011 for European markets. The PC version arrived as LA Noire the Complete Edition, bundling every DLC case into the base game from day one. This port allowed players to push the game far beyond 7th generation console limits with higher resolutions, improved anti-aliasing, expanded texture filtering, and unlocked frame rate potential. When configured correctly and assuming your PC could handle it, it was the sharpest version of LA Noire at the time. However, early PC players also reported controller mapping issues, mouse aiming quirks, and a few performance hurdles that sometimes require driver updates or manual I&I tweaks. Still, once dialed in, the PC version provided the most customizable and technically flexible experience of the original releases. Then we have the Nintendo Switch version, which released on November 14, 2007. The Switch part of this game launched, delivering a full game and all major DLC portable format for the first time. Visually, the Switch version is based on the remaster build, with upgraded textures, improved lighting, and adjusted user interface elements for handheld readability. Docked mode uses a dynamic 1080p target, often scaling down under load, while handheld modes aim for 720p, occasionally dipping below that during heavy scenes. Draw distance is noticeably reduced when compared to the PS4 and Xbox One remasters, and frame pacing can be inconsistent, but the Switch port includes touchscreen support and motion-based aiming, features not found in the traditional consoles. It's not the most technically powerful version, but as a portable detective experience, it's surprisingly feature-rich. The PS4 remaster of LA Noire delivers a cleaner, sharper version of the game running at 1080p by 30 frames per second with improved lighting, upgraded shadows, higher resolution textures, and redefined facial rendering. All DLC cases that once required separate purchases or DLC codes are now baked directly into the base game, making this essentially a definitive complete edition. On the PS4 Pro, the game renders at significantly higher resolution, approaching 4K in some modes, giving the entire experience a level of clarity and sharpness the original release could never achieve. This version preserves the original story and gameplay, but brings the visuals much closer to modern expectations. The Xbox One version released November 14th, 2017. This remaster mirrors the PS4 version with enhanced textures, upgraded lighting, and sharper shadows. On the standard Xbox One hardware, the game runs at a clean 1080p, but the real star here is the Xbox One X version, which pushes LA Noire to a stunning 380/40 by 2160 4K resolution. Even though the game remains locked at 30 frames per second, the jump clarity makes this the crispiest console version available. Compared to the original 360 release, with the disc swapping, softer visuals, and more frequent frame drops, the Xbox One X version is a massive leap forward with both presentation and convenience. Now, I spoke about the complete edition. Now let me actually say what came in the complete edition. This was across the PC and later the console remasters. The complete edition consolidates all the major additional cases, extra content, original release as a standalone DLC, or console exclusive bonuses. These cases included A Slip of the Tongue, The Naked City, Nicholson Extrapolating, Reefer Madness, the console's car, plus bonus outfits and challenge modes. Earlier console versions spread this content across multiple discs or require separate downloads, but every modern build packages everything cleanly into one unified experience right from the jump. When LA Noire hit shelves back in 2011, critics were more than ready to see whether Rockstar's latest experiment could live up to the hype. And for the most part, it absolutely did. The game pulled an impressive 89 on Metacritic, with reviewers across the board praising its ambition, its bold direction, and most of it all, the groundbreaking facial technology that practically redefined what performances in video games could look like. Across outlets like GameSpot, IGN, Giant Bomb, Eurogamer, and The Guardian, you see the same sentiment repeated over and over. LA Noire may not play like traditional Rockstar, but it does things that no other game was even close to attempting at that time. The biggest star of the show, without question, was the facial animation. Reviewers called it revolutionary, industry-changing, and the best ever seen in a video game. The motion scan tech wasn't just a fancy visual trick, it was the backbone of the interrogation system. Without those micro expressions, those darting eyes, those tiny lip movements, the whole detective fantasy would have fallen apart. Some things critics praised were the story and writing. They called it one of Rockstar's strongest narratives to date. They praised Cole Phelps' character arc, especially his dynamic with different partners. Then there was the performances from actors like Aaron Stanton, John Noble, Andrew Colony, and Michael Grady. The recreation of 1940 Los Angeles got praised as well, which many reviewers called the true main character of the game. They even liked the original score, which nailed that golden age noir feel with smoky jazz synths, crescendos, and moody orchestration. The interrogations was a big highlight, which several critics named the standout gameplay mechanic. For a lot of outlets, LA Noire wasn't just a game. It was an event, something new, something brave, and something that pushed the medium forward in ways we rarely saw. But even with all the praise, critics did not hold back on the game's weaker areas. shooting, driving, and action sequences, they got mixed reactions. Some reviewers found gunplay and car chases fun, while others thought they were clunky compared to GTA or Red Dead Redemption. Investigations split opinions. Some critics loved the slower pace and detail, while others felt like it became repetitive, an Easter egg hunt-like, or too forgiving since you can never truly fail a case. Interrogations, despite being praised, were also criticized for vague or misleading choices, especially in the original release where truth, doubt, and lie didn't always match Cole's tone. And nearly everyone agreed on one thing. The open world looks amazing, but it's mostly empty. It's more of a backdrop than a playground. Some critics understood, but still pointed out. By looking across the review spectrum, you start to see a pattern. Critics love LA Noir's ambition far more than its moment-to-moment gameplay. They praise the innovation, even when some mechanics didn't land perfectly. Many felt the final act and overall storytelling elevated the entire experience, even if the pacing was uneven. This was a rare game where the idea of LA Noir, the atmosphere, the performances, the world, the presentation created a stronger impression than its traditional action elements. Even if the game divided some reviewers, the industry gave LA Noir its flowers. The game received 8 BAFTA nominations, winning for original music, multiple Game Developers' Choice nominations including Best Technology, award for sound, score, and narrative, Music of the Year at the Game Audio Network Guild Awards, nominations at the Spike Game Awards, and even the Golden Joystick Game Awards. And years later, even its VR adaptation pulled strong scores, proving the core design still held up in a completely different format. All this praise translated into commercial momentum. The game shipped 4 million copies in its first month, became the best-selling game in the US for May and June 2011, eventually reached 7.5 million copies worldwide, and became the fastest-selling new IP in the UK at launch. For a risky experimental detective game with an extremely long development cycle, that's a massive win. Critical reception for LA Noir was strong, but the player reception, that's where things get interesting. Because while critics praised the ambition and the technology, everyday players were far more split on what the game actually felt like to play. And reading through the community reviews paints a picture of a game that some people were blown away and others wondering what the hype was all about. On one of the most positive reviewers highlights exactly why the game's fans defended it so passionately. The story, the characters, the atmosphere, the world building hit hard for players who connected with it. For them, LA Noire wasn't just another Rockstar title, it was a fully immersive detective experience. They praised the way cases escalate, how each partner brings a unique vibe, how the investigations reward players who take their time and pay attention to detail. That reviewer even said it became one of those games where the character stays with you, with Cole Phelps leaving a lasting impression long after the credits rolled. To them, the slow burn wasn't a flaw, it was a feature, something different, something refreshing. But then you look at the mixed or negative players reviews, and you start to see why LA Noire remains one of Rockstar's most divisive games to some. A major complaint was the actual gameplay loop. Some players felt the world looked incredible but didn't offer much to do outside of main cases. They wanted more interactivity from an open world and expected something closer to GTA, only to discover that LA Noire is perfectly structured and controlled. To them, driving from case to case felt flat, and the side content felt thin, and the action sequences didn't hit the same highs as Rockstar's more crime-focused titles. The interrogation system also split players right down the middle. Fans love reading the faces and playing mind games with suspects, but many players felt the system was more guesswork than detective work. Some reviewers mentioned Cole's exploding with anger when the player didn't even intend it, or suspects reacting in confusing ways. Some players also argued that the dialogue system simply wasn't intuitive enough. One reviewer noted that it often felt like trial and error with no real logic behind it. Another pain pointing was the pacing. Some players expected a post-war GTA and instead got a methodical, slow burn detective drama. For players who love detective stories, this was perfect. For others, it was a slog. One reviewer even said the game felt repetitive after a while. Search, drive, interview, repeat. And that excitement didn't come as naturally as it does in other Rockstar games. Yet, even in the negative reviews, players constantly praise the performers, the music, and the attention to detail in the 1940s Los Angeles. They respected the craft, they just didn't always enjoy the gameplay that held it all together. And that's really the best way to sum up the player reception. LA Noire is a game people click with or they don't. For some, it's an unforgettable detective epic and a style of atmosphere that no other game has matched. For others, it's a visually stunning but mechanically uneven experiment, ambitious, impressive, but not always fun to play. If anything, the divide makes its legacy more interesting. LA Noire wasn't built to please everyone, and the players felt that. But the ones who embraced it, they'll tell you it's one of Rockstar's most daring, memorable creations ever made. When it comes to detective games, I've always had a soft spot for them. There's something special about slowing down, piercing clues together, and actually feeling your mind working. LA Noire captures that feeling better than almost any game I've ever played. It doesn't just put you in a detective's shoes, it forces you to pay attention. A slight eye roll, a twitch on someone's cheek, the hesitation in their voice. Suddenly those tiny reactions matter. Thanks to Motion Scan, we got to experience something gaming had never truly pulled off before. A lot of games around that era were chasing realistic performance capture. Look at Quantic Dream with Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. Those games pushed technology forward by focusing on the actors, and people always talked about how accurately their faces were recreated. But what makes LA Noire stand out is it didn't stop at look how real it is. It asked us, the players, to interpret those performances. We weren't just watching actors, we were judging them, analyzing them, and using their expressions as evidence. That is something magical. Underneath that technology, though, is a story that genuinely respects its characters and trusts the player to do the same. The game invites you to be a cop who observes, thinks, and questions, not a chaos agent, not an outlaw, a detective. And in a generation where players love being an anarchist, here was a game where you took pride in stopping anarchists and understanding why people do the things they do. The shift in perspective is powerful, and honestly, it's part of why LA Noire still feels so unique today. The truth is, we haven't seen another detective game like this. The closest thing I think I've played is Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishment, and even that is leagues away from the depth and ambition LA Noire offered. You fall in love with the atmosphere, the cases, the tension, the writing, and the experience sticks with you long after the credits roll. That's why it hurts knowing it never got a sequel. Team Bounty shut down the same year LA Noire released, meaning the future of this franchise vanished overnight. We never found out what a follow-up could have looked like. Would it stay in the 40s, jump to the 50s or 60s? Would this story dive into something deeper? We all will never know. It's like a musician dropping a masterpiece album and disappearing forever. Beautiful, but bittersweet. Maybe that's why we all cherish LA Noire so much. There's no series, no comeback, no sequel hype, just one incredible game that stands alone and stands at the top of its category. Sure, a few things haven't aged well, but honestly, that's part of the charm. This was a moment in time when we didn't care about 4K textures or ultra-sharp anti-aliasing. We cared about immersion, storytelling, atmosphere, and LA Noire provided all of that with confidence. It's not just a thriller, it's not just a period piece, but it's the greatest detective game ever made, and a game that was truly ahead of its time. If you made it into this video, dropping a thumbs up goes a long way in supporting the channel. This Saturday, we're wrapping up the Max Payne series with Max Payne 3, and next week we close out the Rockstar takeover with Grand Theft Auto 5. I've also have an end of the year special lined up, so if you want to stay updated on all my latest uploads, hitting that subscribe button will keep you in the loop. And if you're feeling generous, you can always buy me a cup of coffee. Link is in the description. With that said, this is the Retro Phantom, signing out.